and he's like, I just want to eat your face because it's so pretty, you know.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Go, hey!
Hey, your bra bomb better work, nerdlinger. Man, for music video sins, Barrett Share.
Hey!
Hey! Oh! Let's go! Today we're going to be continuing our best of the 2010s, best of this decade, best of the last decade bracket thing.
That's exactly that's trademark.
Yes, exactly. Put a little C in a circle there. But yeah, the best of the last decade, we are going to the South region.
Oh man, I'm so excited for this region.
This region has a lot of tough stuff, man.
It does, and it's got a lot of not unusual movies, just like movies that aren't traditionally always at the top of the list. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know where to start. I was like looking at this today going, man, there's so many tough ones. Let's just go ahead and rip off a Band-Aid.
All right.
The 2-seed Arrival versus the 15-seed Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Both very different looks at sci-fi.
Yeah?
But also both having to do with time and aliens. Aliens and time.
That'd be a good double feature.
Yeah. And it was for me yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Oh, really? What did you do first?
Arrival.
Wow. I think that's the order that I would go in.
Yeah. I rewatching Arrival, man, I liked this movie more than I did back when it came out.
Is this your second time watching it?
Probably the third or fourth time.
Okay.
Because we send it. I saw it then too. I'm trying to remember if I saw it again somewhere in the middle of that. But it had been a while since I'd seen it. But I liked this movie better the next time, this time, than I had than any other previous watching. I just love the idea of this is another movie that just really appeals to me on problem solving levels.
Yeah.
Because it talks about language in a way that people don't understand a lot of times. The fact that she puts that question on the chalkboard for Forrest Whitaker and it says, what is your purpose on Earth or whatever? It's like, first you've got to make sure that, you know, they know what Earth is and they've got to know what you means. And you got to go through all the, and how all of it, do they even recognize this as a question? All of these things. And I'm like, exactly. This is something that in a stupid sci-fi movie, they would totally gloss over.
Oh, yeah.
They wouldn't even bring this up. In fact, I think this is one of those miracle that it got made movies because first off, Denis Villeneuve wanted Amy Adams and only Amy Adams for this movie. So there were a lot of questions as to whether they would have even made it without her.
Oh, wow.
But then the other thing is that these movies tend to go through the studio shredder and they're like, this is too smart. And they don't make
explosions.
it. Yeah, and they say, well, this what is a question? Well, what are you talking about? You know, and the fact that they get all this complex information and all these complex concepts under 2 hours.
Yeah.
I popped this in the other day going, this is probably like a 2-hour, 20-minute movie or something like that. Nope, it's an hour and 50 minutes. So I loved this. Everything about the just how she solves the problems, how she solves it with Jeremy Renner and the, you know, and these symbols that keep coming up, and they come up with like the software to read it, and they figure out exactly what the deal is with this language, and oh man,
it's amazing that it paints itself into a corner almost at the end where there's no way that she's going to be able to convince the Chinese to not consider this a threat. The only way that she can get out of this is the answer, the key to the entirety of the movie. And that phone call, that whole sequence is just sublime. It's perfect.
Yeah.
The short story it's based on, I have the anthology of sci-fi short stories. His name is Ted Chiang. I'm butchering the last name. Every single story in that book is this good.
Oh, yeah?
The opening story is my favorite, and it's basically this guy who's trying to help build essentially the Tower of Babel, and he gets... Well, it's just really, really fucking cool because he gets up to the top and he finds himself at the bottom. This author, he's got a brand new anthology that either just came out or is coming out soon, and I'm going to buy it. I should bring that book and let you guys borrow it, though, because
totally
really good stuff. But yeah, to think that it's a short story, right? They probably went into more detail in the movie than even the short story had. But it's very, very compelling. It's a thinker, right? Like, not very many movies make you think about it for days and days afterwards, and this is one of those, and I appreciate that more than I even sometimes appreciate a really good time.
Yeah. No, I agree, and it's also got that, like a series of emotional gut punches, and the more you think about it, the more emotional you can get about it.
Yeah, my wife and I had strong debates about this movie and the morality of the decisions made, and, you know, she's strongly disagrees with the decisions made by Amy Adams at the end of the movie.
Well,
are you on the other side of it?
I think it's more nebulous than she does. I see a case for love, even if you know love is going to end at a certain point.
But it also involves somebody else that's unwilling or not
doesn't have a chance to say. Yeah.
Who's to say, though, that she doesn't solve the problem if she doesn't have the kid? Think about
exactly.
This is the reason why this movie is so insane, because there's, I mean, as far as like where its level of thought is and everything, it's a nonlinear time. So if she decide, the whole key to her understanding that this is in this present that we're seeing, that she knows that she's seeing a future time, is because there's this girl that she has a whole history with that she can't remember, like happened in the past and everything. Now, if she decides, you know what, probably best I don't have that kid. She dies of cancer later and all that stuff. If she decides not to, maybe there's a version that happens here where like memory goes away.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's a fixed loop, right? Is that how we say it?
The kid's even like telling the story of the aliens. Like with Play-Doh, I haven't seen it in probably 10 months or something, or drawings or something. Like, I think there are clues. That's a very good argument that she has to have the kid because she did.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And, you know, it's just, for my wife, it's the morality of, I know this child is going to get sick and die, but I'm still going to do it. Like, my wife separates that from the whole rest of the movie and struggles very, very much with that decision.
And it's a decision to, it's one of those where it doesn't have a clear-cut answer, right? Because you are involving someone who doesn't have a choice in the matter,
right,
quote unquote. But that you know, she's made the decision that my life is better to have this child for however long I have it, and it's not better to just put that person out of existence forever and everything. But I do struggle a little bit with that phone call thing, because that General Zhang, I think that's his name, she remembers the future of a party where this is after everything has been fixed. Right. And I totally believe in the guy saying, you know, like, here's my phone number and everything, but I don't know why she doesn't know the number at that point. Because if he's remembering, I'll never forget you calling me during all of this time, then how does she not remember in her future self? Does she not remember getting that phone call?
That's a good question.
That I think we actually put that in the sentence.
Yeah.
The problem for me is, like, if in the future there's this big party and she solved the problem and they've fixed everything and everything, I even somewhat doubt him going up and going, I don't know how your mind works, but here, I'm going to show you my phone number because your past self will remember this.
Yeah.
And
because, that had to have happened sequentially before she got that.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been able to put my head around. I know that time is nonlinear in this movie.
Yeah.
I feel like you could make an argument that their language is nonlinear time, and that she has learned their language by the end.
Yeah.
And is therefore able to have their gift of seeing all time at one snapshot.
Then she's apparently putting herself, her own knowledge that she has in this future then, because she didn't, if she's recalling a conversation that happened in the future, she should have remembered the phone call that she made to him earlier, or else that the whole thing that party doesn't happen.
You are making my mind a pretzel right now.
It's the reason why it's so hard is we don't have the language to discuss stuff like this. Anytime time travel, because we're using past tense words and stuff that's happening in the future.
Yeah.
There's no proper language to discuss what I'm talking about there. But if she's remembering the future, if she's seeing the future and there's this party, she should have remembered the phone call in that remembrance.
Yes.
She shouldn't have been like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes, because that is in the linear sense, that is in the future after that phone call was made.
Right.
Maybe Christopher Nolan and Tenet will give us the language we need to talk about this stuff in
Maybe
this
so.
way.
We need to be holding up symbols with like little swirly images and stuff.
We saw Arrival, the three of us.
Yes,
together.
we did.
That's always a fun experience for
It is,
all
and it
three of
doesn't
us.
happen nearly enough.
Yes.
But I remember walking out of that side exit door going, so wait, that dead kid is the future kid? And you guys were like, yep. And I was like, what the fuck? And you guys were like, yep.
It's one of the most satisfying reveals. It's just like, we got to go back, Kate. Lost.
Yeah.
It's just it's the exact way. I watched it yesterday knowing this was happening. And when they finally revealed it, I just got chills.
Yeah.
I love this movie an incredible amount. It goes up against Edge of Tomorrow, another movie that I love an incredible amount.
Another female protagonist.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise isn't female.
It is funny. I mean, they introduce Emily Blunt's character, and they actually just play her up so perfectly in this movie. I mean, she's what do they call her? The bitch,
Full Metal Bitch.
Full Metal Bitch.
And then she's the angel of Verdun.
Yeah, and it's just awesome. Like they don't really soften her up. I think she eventually falls in love with him, right?
Yeah.
Or like they get some sort of a relationship.
No, I mean, so every day of hers is the first day she's met him. There is a point by the end of one of the more, like, I guess the more dramatic parts of the movie where apparently they've gotten to the same farm many times and she always makes the wrong choice, that she realizes that he kind of is in love with her.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah.
And I think there's a point somewhat after the Brendan Gleeson stuff where they get Noah Taylor's device that he steals from. Well, he didn't steal, but he gets out of the safe and everything. There's some point there where I think she's got at least some admiration for him, but I don't know if there's ever like it's every day is the first day for her. So
right. It's like 50 First Dates.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's not like Andy McDowell where like, Bill Murray's like found the way the perfect day to
French poetry.
Right.
I think it's remarkable how much legs Groundhog Day has. Like, because I remember, I think Jonathan Taylor Thomas, one of those Home Improvement kids, after Groundhog Day was in some Christmas movie on TV where he kept reliving Christmas over and over again. And I remember deriding it as, well, it's just Groundhog Day, you losers. And then Edge of Tomorrow, and we got Happy Death Day. And like, there's lots of ways to play with reliving the same day that don't tell the same story over and over. Bill Paxton, man.
You read my mind. I was sitting there about to say Bill Paxton. We have to bring him up.
He almost steals the movie.
He does.
And this is one of his best, most unexpected performances.
There's a point where he's like, Cruise is like, I'm going to tell you a story and you're probably not going to believe a word of it. And he goes, I will not.
Oh my God, his drill sergeant talk on the jet when they're flying. Oh my God, I just this movie's just delightful. I do think the third act, the conclusion, the climax, is the weakest part of the film
by far.
But it's so fun, but also it's a thinking movie, right? You have to sort of use your brain to kind of understand what's going on. But yeah, they're gonna get another one.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And it won't have Bill Paxton.
So you watched it recently. Effects hold up pretty well. Like I remember those effects being
they're spectacular. They're
really good.
They're really good.
Yeah, like very almost like practical. It looks practical.
Yeah,
like
no,
they just look like they're popping out.
They went all out on these. They're excellent. The thing that you're talking about in that third act, man. First off, it's the giddiness that we have of him reliving the days over and over and trying new things and all that is gone at that point.
Yep.
Because and this is something that I think the movie does make a misfire on. I think the whole blood thing where they give him blood and that's the reason why he's not resetting the day anymore. That should have happened a little bit later. They should have been able to practice that Paris run a few more times. Yeah. Because it's not believable at all that they win that.
No.
At all. Yeah. So like it would have been nice if he had like 2 or 3 runs and then on that third run the blood thing happened.
Yeah.
And then he has one chance, but he knows a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because he is thrown around like a fucking rag doll in that last thing. And it's so dark. It's hard to see anything that's going on in that thing. We know it's around the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre and everything, but like it's so dark, it's hard to see anything in that thing. And I just feel like, I was sitting there thinking, man, if they could have just made it where he had 2 or 3 runs here, it would have been better. It would have made the movie better.
Yeah.
So anyway, that movie is fantastic.
Came out of kind of nowhere, right? Because if I remember, the marketing was weird because of the title issue, like how they really wanted to market this. Did we really want to see Tom Cruise getting killed over and over again? Do you remember that? Like the marketing was odd.
Wasn't it? Okay, so the story it's based on is called All You Need Is Kill, right?
I thought it's Live, Die, Repeat.
No, Live, Die, Repeat
changed that.
Is what they named it on the home release.
I gotcha.
It is based on All You Need Is Kill.
Okay.
It's a Japanese writer.
All right, so that would have been a better title than Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah,
Edge of Tomorrow is only the brave of sci-fi titles. The only clue, I mean, they did put the word tomorrow in there.
Right.
So you might guess, I wonder if it has something to do with time. But I think the trailers were cut poorly.
Yeah.
So as they did not reveal the quality of the movie, and it looked like a very like a ripoff of Starship Troopers in the trailer.
That's what I'm talking about. Like it just didn't look like the quality that you end up getting on the movie.
It ended up being a pretty decent hit, though. I mean, it probably should have done more. Your marketing issue probably led to that being not as big of a hit as it should have been, but it ended up doing okay. I don't know if as far as did it make its money back and all that, but it
budget is $175 million.
Yeah, and probably 20 of that is Cruise. But
wow,
that was the budget.
Yeah,
god damn. What did Doug Liman do before that to earn that big of a budget?
Probably Mr. and Mrs. Smith or Born Identity.
Wow, that's crazy because he did Jumper after those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think a studio looked at Jumper and said, another sci-fi movie?
I think a lot of...
Interesting. So $100 million almost on the dot domestic. 270 worldwide, so 370 total. With a reported budget of $178 million.
So it either made a slight profit or it broke even or maybe even lost a little bit, but I think probably home video has been really kind to that
totally.
So they've probably pulled a profit on that and everything. So it goes up against Arrival. I hate that these two movies have to go up against each other so soon. Where are we going to go with this, guys?
Arrival.
Yeah, I'll go with Arrival as well.
I love you, Edge of Tomorrow.
I do too. I love Edge of Tomorrow so much. As I was watching Edge of Tomorrow, I was like, man, if it wasn't for that third act, this would be a really harder decision.
Mm-hmm.
And the movies themselves on IMDb are both at 7.9.
Oh, yeah.
So,
wow, I would expect Arrival would be a little bit higher. I know that's high, but I would expect that it would be a little higher.
Yeah,
because that's just from top to bottom. There is no third act issue with Arrival.
Right.
Like it's all perfect, pretty much all the way through. And the way it's shot, was that Deakins that did that?
What, on Arrival?
Yeah, on Arrival.
Ooh, I think you might be right.
The
Well, he was
cinematography
on
is gorgeous.
Blade Runner for Villeneuve for sure, right? That
Yes,
was Deakins.
yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean everything. We've already talked about the music a million times.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was Bradford Young who did the
Wow.
cinematography.
Huh.
He did Solo, a Star Wars story.
Okay.
He did Selma.
Ooh, Selma's great.
Mm-hmm. Those were the big ones. He's done a lot, though. He's got like 70 credits.
Hmm.
Yeah, Arrival moves on, and it will go up against the winner of the 7 seed Her and the 10 seed Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Wow.
What a ridiculous matchup.
It is a ridiculous
We've
matchup.
had some of those, but this
One
is
takes
really
place.
ridiculous.
One takes place in the future. One takes place in the very distant past.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you see that they're going to do a even further in the past Star Wars? Did you see this? It came out like today or yesterday.
Is this like, are they doing Knights of the Old Republic?
Yes.
That was a video game that Star Wars fans and video game fans loved.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And it was thousands of years before the Skywalkers. There's plenty of good characters in it. And Jedi and Sith are fucking everywhere.
Dude,
like every other person is a Jedi or a Sith.
I'm all in for that.
Yeah, man. I think that could work. I know the fans of that game have wanted them to do some adaptation of that for a long time.
Oh, cool.
Star Wars The Force Awakens is definitely, I think, what most Star Wars fans were hoping for when the franchise came back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it was returning to that classic style that they were used to and everything. The prequels were a bad time to be a Star Wars fan.
They sure were. Man.
They're sure there's some ardent defenders of it. And
Yeah.
if you ever run into those people, they're wrong. But
Run the other way.
yeah, but no, I mean, it's funny when you run into one of those people who are like, prequels, man, way better than you think. It's like, I don't know. I've seen it 6 times. When am I going to see the good thing? But Force Awakens comes back with a story that's an awful like a lot like A New Hope, but it sort of gets us back, right? I think that's the purpose of a movie like that, is to get us back into that. And then they're supposed to springboard from that first one to kind of like maybe give us something different and awesome.
Yeah.
And they do, but
It's a different type of awesome.
yeah, it's a different kind of thing.
I know the main thing is the big Death Star-y thing,
Mhm.
the Starkiller base. That's very much like A New Hope. And of course, Daisy Ridley standing in for kind of like a Luke Skywalker type of thing. I think there's so much different, though, from A New Hope that makes this completely unique. I mean, Poe is not Han Solo. He never, threatens to desert or anything like that. Finn is ultimately a brand new type of character. Kylo Ren, I think, is much more engaging. This is weird to say, a more engaging villain than Darth Vader. Darth Vader was looming and ominous and stuff like that, but he wasn't engaging like Kylo Ren. I think there's so much difference that I do understand the comparisons to New Hope, but I think it's just so different that it makes it stand out. It makes it pop more than people give it credit for.
Man, Oscar Isaac is totally Han Solo. We can't compare it just because he didn't want to abandon. Like Han Solo was a rogue scavenger what was it? The fuck do you call it? Importer and exporter of goods.
Well, and by Rise of the Skywalker, Poe has this backstory of being a spice runner, and he's a rogue.
Well, sure,
and
but he's a warrior. He's a part of the resistance. Like he's all in. He's not looking out for himself.
But to say that because their characters come from, they're not the same background. That guy is totally fucking Han Solo, man.
I don't think so. I mean, I think he's cocky. He's a flyboy type of thing.
That's all you need.
I guess so.
That is one hell of a pilot.
That scene every fucking time gets my boner rock hard.
Because of Finn's line or because of Poe's piloting?
The tracking shot, because it never leaves. As soon as he comes in, he takes out like fucking 15 of those things. And then when you think he's done, oh no, there's one up in the corner. He gets that one, and then he goes down and gets the last one.
It's too bad he doesn't get any more piloting opportunities the rest of those movies. Because you're right, that is a pretty thrilling moment.
Well, he flies all out. You certainly don't see anything like that.
No, or even, one of my favorite things about Force Awakens is Rey and Finn stealing the Millennium Falcon and then learning on the fly how to operate this thing to defeat these guys that are trying to kill us. And then they have that yes moment at the end. That's the best part of the movie to me. I do like this movie. And I think the biggest knock is it's a lot like New Hope. A lot like New Hope, and completely wasted the guys from the Raid.
Yeah.
That is egregious.
There's no even, like, why do you even cast them? There better be, like, 20 minutes of fight on the cutting room floor. Because otherwise, even just casting them is wrong.
I hadn't seen The Raid before I saw that, so I didn't even know what you were talking about. When you're like, yeah, they wasted them.
Oh, that's
funny. But then after seeing The Raid, you're like, God damn it.
Yeah, I know. What the fuck were they in there
Give
for?
those guys a lightsaber, for fuck's sake. Let's go.
Yeah, that should have been like Claire Danes or somebody.
They even get Claire Danes. They even get Donnie Yen for Rogue One, and don't let that guy have a lightsaber. They give him a staff.
Yeah.
Like, come on! These are the martial art greats.
And the way they do actually fit the real Han Solo in this thing's kind of clunky too.
Yeah.
I think so too.
So like, it's fun though. It's like, I believe this is exactly the type of movie that you make when you're trying to revive a franchise that had some bad but very profitable years. We have to always remember that no matter how bad those movies were, they made tons of money.
They sure did. And you know what? Again, I think we may be talking about a generational thing, because I think a lot of the people who are ardent defenders of the prequels are a lot younger than us and don't have the history with the original trilogy that we have.
Yeah.
And I talked to a guy last night online who was trying to tell me Spider-Man Far From Home was better than Raimi's Spider-Man 2. And he was adamant. And I was like, I can't talk to you.
Yeah.
You're 16. You don't know how awesome Spider-Man 2 is if you think that's a weird
argument.
Yeah, it's a weird argument, but people like to have these arguments. People to take these unpopular opinions.
It's where it hits you like on like the time that you're growing up, where you just lock onto a movie. Something like The Devil's Advocate, which like 9 people have seen, basically. Mm-hmm. I love that fucking movie, and I will see it, defend it to my death. But it had to have hit me like right at 17, 18 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And it tickles my nipples.
I did not know your nipples were an erogenous zone.
But now that we know.
Yes.
3,
clockwise,
4,
counterclockwise.
7. I'm
going to parasite your nipples.
Ooh.
Go counterclockwise, baby.
Yeah.
I just dropped a Friends reference and you didn't even get it.
I was too busy waiting to drop my own parasite reference.
Exactly. It goes up against Star Wars goes up against Her. Spike Jonze movie about Scarlett Johansson as an operating system.
One of my favorite stories of all time about a movie is that she came in after everything was done and did her audio. Like, they had a whole other voice for the DOS, and it wasn't working. We've talked about this before because we know who the actress is. I just can't remember her name. Was it Samantha Morton?
Oh, I think it was.
But it wasn't working very well, and so brought in Scarlett, and it blows my mind that it feels like they're interacting. It feels like they're in the same room doing these scenes, talking to each other, but they're not. He did all that months before, and I think that's a testament to both how good he was and how good Scarlett is.
This is one of my favorite Joaquin Phoenix performances because it's not just straight up. Like, I know we love him in The Master and we love him in Joker and all that, but this is one that actually lets you in a little bit.
Yes.
And I feel like Joaquin Phoenix doesn't do that very often.
No, he's not a miserable piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly. He feels like a real person.
Yeah.
In this.
His interactions are very human.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sometimes if he's feeling bad, if he's feeling depressed, he'll feel bad and depressed. When he's not, he's engaging. He's talking to his neighbors. He's talking to Amy Adams and her guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, he's real. You're right.
Yeah.
Although I do want to point out that Amy Adams' film in this movie is terrible.
Yes.
Where she's just filming dudes sleeping.
Oh, yeah,
and trying to make it be like art.
And the guy is an asshole for saying something about it. But he's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong. I never want to watch that short film. That's bad.
It's a short film. It's like 15 hours or something like that.
But it tells a story that, how far off are we from this? I mean, do we think that this is something that can happen? I feel like yes,
Absolutely.
I think so.
I mean, I feel like there's going to be a ton of varieties of kinds of relationships once robots and cyborgs become like even more human-like and everything. And but it'll start off with probably operating systems where you just talk. There's people who have emotional affairs with people they've never seen, like just online typing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So just
all you need is a computer to be able to emulate that, and we're there.
Yeah, just add a voice, add a sexy Scarlett Johansson voice.
Look, and at CES this past year, it was the wave of sex toys now. So they've accepted, like, the tech industry has accepted, like smart sex toys as, like, a thing.
Mhm.
So you combine an OS that can imitate an AI with a sex toy that I can wear and never take off.
I'm fucking her right now.
I'm not. I think that's why this movie works, because it is so believable.
And it seems so forward thinking, like just the idea of like there would be an industry for women who will be the physical embodiment of that. So there's a Portia Doubleday section of this where Scarlett Johansson hires this woman so that he can have a physical relationship, quote unquote, with her, and it just doesn't work out for him and everything. And it could be just because he has a different idea of who that OS is. It could be a variety of reasons, but
even Blade Runner 2049 has the same kind of scene where he's almost in love with this digital girl who goes out and hires a physical girl.
Yeah.
So they can have sex
Imagine
together.
having a threesome with Mackenzie Davis and Ana Tiarmos.
Man,
I'll tell you what, I'd rather have...
That's all I thought about.
My dick would explode.
I'd rather have one of them than that creepy digital combination of them.
Oh, I'm all right with that creepy
It looks inhuman.
That's what I love about it. It feels like Spike Jonze really just thought about this and like, let's not just have a guy have a relationship with his operating system, which is what the fucking Jexy movie is all about.
Did you ever see that?
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Sounds bad.
Oh my God, it's terrible. Just as an aside, the Jexy movie is all about Rose Byrne insulting Adam Devine throughout the entire movie and just being a dick to him.
Awesome.
The entire time. That's pretty much it.
All right.
But yeah, this one, it's so weird. We watch this movie. It feels so believable that he would be in love with his operating system.
Yeah.
I love how casually accepted it is. Like when Chris Pratt and his girlfriend ask Joaquin out like for lunch or whatever, and like, bring your girlfriend. And he's like, oh, she's an OS. And he's like, cool.
Yeah.
Well, and even by the end of the movie, lots of people are having relationships with
Amy
their
Adams
OS. It's just, this movie wrecks me, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you don't feel the same way for some reason, but the end of this movie just kills me. It's just like, he's so eloquent with love. He writes these cards and letters for other people who aren't very good at doing it, but he's never going to get it himself.
Why? No.
Well,
Why
he
can't-
may get it, but he's just had it ripped away from him.
Yes, I agree. But see, my focus is more on her. She has
Fuck
become. He does, but she has become now a part of something larger that will make humanity better overall. Will make the AI like a whole different universe. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. She has evolved in this time.
At what cost? Breaking that dude's heart.
I mean, come on.
That scene where he realizes that she's only giving him like 2% of her attention,
When he's in
and the
the
rest of
subway,
it is the rest of it is all off on other stuff, is crushing.
It is, and especially if you've had that happen to you
I
in the
have a
past.
college girlfriend. Hello. That's why this movie wrecks me.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I've had that happen a couple times too, and it is the worst feeling in the world.
I do love the music and the song she writes for him and the little piano ditties, and it's a very comforting movie.
It is.
For right up until the end, but it does go exactly as I think it probably would.
Yeah.
Who's the weirdo in that Joaquin Phoenix Olivia Wilde scene?
Well,
I feel like Olivia Wilde is.
She is.
It's probably justified, but
well, I mean, I don't know if it's not justified by anything he did. I think
no.
Besides him just saying he refuses her, right? Like he just says, "Oh, I don't want to."
No. They
make out.
They go on the date. Yeah, they make out, and she's almost already talking about marriage off that first date.
Right. She says, you're not going to leave me like the other guys.
Yes. And then he doesn't ever say, like, well, let's cut this off or anything. He's just very hesitant because she's coming on super strong right off the bat. And he goes, I don't know. I've got some things or whatever. And because he him and haws, that's when she goes, you're a really creepy dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I know that if I were like having a date with Olivia Wilde and that she wanted to marry me, I would be like, probably, yeah.
I think it's if memory serves, I think it's like, when am I going to see you next? Meaning, like, I want to set up something long term. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think he's still married at this point. So, like, technically, even though he's separated from Rooney Mara. But it's just that little hesitant thing where. She just goes batshit crazy.
Yeah.
She's definitely.
It's just weird. I feel like that. Yes, she could be reading some creepiness off of him.
Sure,
but nothing in that scene makes me think, oh, he just blew it. No. You know,
I dated a legit one of my college girlfriends. I won't say any names. we went on 3 dates, and we were just kind of cuddling. I think in one of the lobbies of the dorms, and she says to me, I may want you, but I will never need you. Now, that should have been a blaring red siren to me that this relationship was not going to go well. And it didn't. It went for a year before it went poorly.
I thought you married that girl.
But I remember when I watched her and Olivia Wilde starts on this thing, that's what I flash back to, is that girl saying, I will never need you. And I remember in the moment I was like, okay, cool. I'm making out. I don't care if you need me or not. But as I dated this girl more, I learned a lot of the reasons that she said that. She had been hurt by men, including her father and her brother and guys that she dated that were rude, and it was at that point in her life important for her to tell me, I am able of taking care of myself, and I will never need you to do that for me. I hope she's doing well.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, it could be a variety of reasons why she's like that. You know, I don't want to call anybody crazy or anything. I just
her behavior is erratic.
Yeah, no, she's the red flag in that scene for sure.
Okay. She's such a great actress. Like you know how when actors are super intense and they're looking at somebody, they dart back and forth between the eyes.
Yes.
Like they'll look at. She does that to a disturbing degree in that moment. She's like,
yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, so how are we going to vote on this? I'm going to go ahead and say her is my choice here.
Oh, this is a tough one for me because I love that Star Wars. I can't vote against her though. Her is just a spectacular movie, top to bottom.
Her.
All right, her moves on. It will go up against Arrival.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah, that's a real noodle scratcher.
That one
right
actually,
there.
like so far, these two have been fairly easy for me, but that one will be tough.
Let's move on to the 6 seed Birdman versus the 11 seed Steve Jobs.
Wow. Okay. Well, which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's go with Birdman. This movie is still sort of a head scratcher. I've seen it many times. I don't know how much is in this guy's head. I don't know how much is real. There's one like area of the movie where it sort of clues you in that obviously him flying around fucking New York is not real, but it gives you an idea that a lot of the more fantastic elements are in his head when he does that flight off of the roof and he goes all the way to his theater and he goes into his theater and you see the taxi cab guy running after him and saying, hey, you forgot to pay and all that. But yeah, a movie that feels like one continuous shot with some masked cuts in it. And it's very kinetic, told in that very like minimalistic sound, the score that's going on in it, the little drums and everything.
Yeah, it's unsettling.
But yeah, he's trying to adapt this. Is it the things that we
talk about when we talk about love?
Yeah, he's trying to adapt this play, and so many like like when the light falls on that dude's head and he gets Edward Norton to replace him, you have to think that he did that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like that's all the stuff in here that happens ain't by accident.
Oh, and yeah, and this is a bit of a tough nut for me to crack. Like, I enjoyed the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I want to believe the fantastical shit, but because of that last scene, I can't, like you said in the beginning, I can't trust that any of this is actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because in that scene, Emma Stone sees, quote unquote, sees him flying and has this fantastic face of wonderment. And so I guess we're supposed to believe that's in his head and he's imagining. So then is it all in his head?
No, I don't think so. I think I saw this very recently, actually, because I only saw it the once when it came out. And I loved it. And I loved it so much that I was like, do I really love this movie, or am I just remembering it wrong? And I love this movie. I understand what you're saying, but I think you can explain everything by, anytime he's moving stuff with his hands and stuff like that, he's by himself, except for that light fall. The light fall, to me, could be his way of, like, explaining that. Like, oh, I had control over that. I'm going to replace this guy. And so because the light fell on him, that was me doing it. Besides that last shot, everything is kind of based in reality if he's not by himself. The opening shot is him floating by himself, and the voice smells like balls.
Yeah.
But then why put her in that shot? That's the only place where he breaks that rule of the fantastical stuff is all when he's by himself.
Yeah.
What? You mean like the very last shot?
Yes, when she sees him floating out the window.
She's looking up. She's just looking up. We don't know exactly what that means.
Well, then what, she's seeing
It's
a sunrise?
I don't know. It's implied that he actually did take off. But I think there's two things. First of all, the voice is controlling all that stuff. Like, the voice is the fantastical element that's making these things happen. The voice is Birdman. And it's hilarious. Right when he, right before he jumps out of the window, he goes into the bathroom and he sees Birdman sitting on the toilet. But at that point, because he's shot his nose off of his face, like, he's essentially extricated himself from that. And I think he does probably die at the end. And I think there's just some sort of confusing shot of Emma Stone looking up into the air.
Even if he plummeted to the ground?
She wouldn't know to look at the ground.
But she wouldn't be smiling at the air.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that's what baffles me about this movie, is that without her staring in what I am going to say is definitely wonder and awe, I don't have any questions. I agree with you. The fantastical stuff is all when he's by himself, and it's not real. But the fact that you choose to put her in that scene, in that moment, looking at what has to be him floating up there.
I think he wants you to have questions.
Well, you guys made me feel wrong when I said I thought the movie was saying he could really fly.
Yeah. I mean, it's only that last shot.
Well, she could also be high. She's like,
he grabs the joint, and when he catches her after she's been in rehab, and he's like, "What is this?" And she's like, "That's pot."
This is for anxiety. This is also for anxiety.
What's funny? Yeah, that's hilarious. What's funny is that after she leaves the room and he's chastised her for the pot and all that stuff, he like fucking horks down that joint.
Yeah,
he's like, and it's not only like one puff, like he's just like, and he's like getting the smoke and all that shit too.
Yeah. I love Norton in this movie too.
Oh, it's great.
Because he's playing, I guess, ostensibly himself, but he's playing one of these like whatever goes, like you can only be an artist if you do it real type of people, and so like that's why he has trouble having actual sex outside of a stage and everything. Like people when we're on stage, everything else is bullshit if we don't do it for real. So like this prop gun, it's got to be a real gun.
Yeah.
When he's in the bed with Naomi Watts, he wants to actually be fucking her. He's a really complex character in this, because you don't know whether or not this guy is like somebody to root for or like.
No, well, especially because of the sexual assault, essentially.
Yeah.
He comes off as brass. He's like with Emma Stone. He's like, it's a theater, baby. He tells her she has a nice ass and all that stuff. And it's the theater, baby. You got to take it. But then you see him up with her at the roof later on, And there's a tender side to him. There's a human side to him. He's admitting that he's a disaster anywhere except on the stage. I love that moment where she's like, she wants to fuck him, and she's like, if you were to do anything to me, what would you do? And he's like, I would rip your eyes out and put them in my own so I could look at this street the way that you're looking at it right now instead of my cynical worldview. It's just, that's a genius line.
Sounds like bad sex, though.
Yeah,
it's funny when he says it at first. He's like, I would rip your eyes. And she's like, oh, that's nice.
It's funny how in context some of these kind of lines play off, because that line could be creepy, but he's also trying to be poetic and everything. It reminds me of Punch Drunk Love, where where Adam Sandler is like having sex. Well, I'm about to have sex with Emma Watson, or they're making out or something. To
Emily Watson.
Emily Watson.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, Emily Watson, and there's and he goes, he's like, I just wanna eat your face because it's so pretty, you know. Yeah, it is a puzzle, and I think it almost would be better for me if they didn't show the taxi cab driver running after him after that flight sequence, because then you could maybe possibly say that anytime he's flying, it's actually real and it's weird, and that he can just do that. But yeah, I don't know. It does leave it up for interpretation. That could be good thing for you, bad thing, don't know. But it does make it hard to like figure out what this movie is.
Yeah.
A lot of times I think it's very intense and well done and very well paced.
Yeah.
And I love watching it. I've seen it many times.
I agree with all those things.
You mentioned that soundtrack, and Antonio Sanchez is the percussionist. You actually catch a glimpse of him towards the end.
Yeah.
He's like in the middle of the theater, like playing the drums. That drumming is some of the most inventive and, like you said, kinetic and beautiful drum patterns I've ever heard, because he's hitting stuff that you're not supposed to hit, like in a rhythmic situation. Right. He's hitting a hi-hat instead of a snare and everything, but everything has a purpose. I love listening to it.
The guy that played the kid in Jurassic Park, who's in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Joseph Mazzello.
Yes. He tweeted yesterday, time to get back to work, and it makes everybody think he's going to be in the new Jurassic World movie. But I just was scrolling through some of his tweets, and one of them was, when it comes to jazz, the worse it sounds, the better they're doing.
I can't tell if that's pejorative or not.
I don't think it has to be, right? Because I've seen live jazz, and it's, there are times where you're like, what? This is music?
Yeah, and I will say, though, I'm not I love the critic character in this up until the point that she just believes this play is awesome after he really shoots himself on stage.
I see what you're saying, but I loved how they brought that subtitle, The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, as the headline for that thing. Because I think if you read that article or whatever, she would say, like, he's almost accidentally great. Like, this makes this play great because he doesn't know what he's doing. Oh. And he's basically, he's a Hollywood type. She wants to bury
her review at the end, you think that she's saying in a way that he doesn't know what he's doing?
Yeah, I think that's the meaning of the title, the headline, The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance.
The critic's review. I never thought of it that way. The critic's review is basically saying something to the effect of, real blood was shed on the stage last night, blah 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 blah, and it goes on this rave about it. I don't remember anything about. Are you talking about? This subtitle itself is talking about her review? She's ignorant, or is he ignorant?
I think she thinks he's ignorant.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the play work.
Okay.
If he were coming in to do his typical Hollywood bullshit, it wouldn't work. It would be terrible. And she already has her mind made up on that.
Right.
But because he goes all in and he's not even acting necessarily, he's just doing a cinema verite on stage, he's ignorant to what the rules should be. I think that's why that turns it around. And I think that was a cool. I do understand what you're saying. Like, all of a sudden, whoa, she just completely switched her opinion.
Yeah.
And she was the only one that didn't stand up at the end when he shot his nose off.
Yeah, she just runs out like ready to write this review. It goes up against Steve Jobs, and both of these movies are just like super intense, behind the scenes,
Insular in theaters and stuff like that.
Steve Jobs came on, I think a week or so ago, and I had it on, watched it. It's basically 3 different product launches over his career. One is the whatever they're doing after the Apple II or whatever it is. It's the Cube. Is the Cube? No, the Cube is the second thing.
The first one is after the 1984 commercial.
Yeah,
it was the Macintosh.
Yeah, it was the Macintosh, and then they did from there he does the Cube, and then after that it's the
iMac.
It's the iMac.
The iMac, yeah. But they're all in these behind the scenes type. Before he's about to go on stage, he has family drama and friends drama and all these, former business partner drama that plays out over these 3 different areas of time. It's really a unique type of movie. Like, it feels like it's going forward in time and backward in time, like just constantly. And you have to figure out what the relationship is at this point in time with all of these people that he's interacting with. And then they're always going back and talking about, well, this is what happened over here and everything. Everybody's got their own interpretation of what happened. Everybody's at odds with each other in this movie.
Especially with Jobs.
Yeah.
Man, is anybody better at saying Sorkin dialogue than Jeff Daniels?
No.
I mean, from Newsroom to this movie, like, he's got it down. And his scenes with Fassbender, I mean, obviously the Seth Rogen in the auditorium scene is the standout scene in the whole movie because that's where they just argue. And, but I think before almost every presentation, he has like a little tiff with Jeff Daniels. And they just go toe-to-toe with each other, man. I will watch anything Sorkin writes.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah, there's a point, I believe it's in before the first presentation, where I think it's because after the first one is where they have the falling out afterwards, I think. There's that dialogue about why is it people who are adopted think they weren't chosen, that they were thrown away or whatever. Why do people always think that? Why not think that they're chosen instead? And Steve Jobs is like, I don't even know what you're talking about. He's such a difficult. Michael Fassbender is perfect.
He is.
But he's such a difficult person. When Catherine Watterson, his ex-wife, shows up to try to get just a little bit of money to help her out, he's always finding ways to. He would easily give her that money, but he wants to needle it. He wants to just milk everything out of it. And there's that one scene. I love how Catherine Watterson plays this because he hears some rumor that she threw a cup at their daughter and everything, and he goes. You threw a cup at our daughter? And she's like, what? I had a cup. I threw it down on the ground. And she's like, I didn't. I was just angry. I didn't. She wasn't anywhere near it. I threw it on the ground.
Yeah, she's great, man. He's got baby mama drama.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I mean, everybody's got the drama. I mean, and when I said everybody's at odds with each other, I did mean with Steve Jobs. Like, nobody else really has any, drama with each other. It's all there, but it's all this just dialogue. It's just bam, 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 bam. That movie's like 2 hours, I think. Something maybe over 2 hours. It doesn't feel like it.
Do you think that movie is drawing any conclusions, or do you think it's just presenting information? Like, because it seems like Steve Jobs was kind of a bastard. A brilliant bastard. And I'm trying to figure out if the movie is saying anything like, you have to be this dysfunctional in order to be this brilliant, or justifying any of his bad behavior because of. I don't get that vibe. I feel like the movie is just laying it straight.
I totally agree.
This is a man who was a genius, but also a dickhead.
They don't even really show a whole lot of the genius part.
Well, I mean,
he's more of the asshole part.
What it shows more about his genius than anything is marketing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with what he's making, because everything he makes, I think all three of I think the iMac was successful, but the other two things that are in this that he's about to present, are clearly not. I mean, he's ignored everybody on what these things should be. That first thing, which was the Macintosh, I guess. That first thing they were, Seth Rogen, who's playing
Wozniak,
is basically saying you need to make it where people can play with it and have fun with it and everything, not make it this internal thing where nobody can do anything with it and everything. And he's like, no, we can't do that. So he's made this completely just unusable body. You have to deal with whatever they give you.
Well, and it portends all the Apple stuff, because when he's trying to get Michael Stuhlbarg to fix it, to make it say hello, he's like, well, we'll open it up. And he's like, we can't open it up. And Kate Winslet's character is like, why can't we? And he's like, you want to tell her? And he's like, they made a special tool for it. He's like, he doesn't want anybody inside.
Yeah.
It portends like the iPhone and stuff
It
like
does.
that. Well, you can't do shit to it. You got to take it to a Genius Bar or whatever it is.
Or the FBI.
Or the FBI.
Yeah, and Stuhlbarg is playing a Steve of some sort too. I can't remember him.
They were all named Steve.
Yeah, Steve something.
Steve.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I don't even know what would needed to have changed, because I think Fincher was originally attached. But
it almost feels like a Fincher movie.
It does, but I think that's because Sorkin wrote the script.
It doesn't feel like a Danny Boyle. We've talked about how Danny Boyle movies are very eclectic, but Danny Boyle also has difficulty finishing a story, and I think because of Sorkin's help, he definitely nails it on this one.
Oh, yeah.
Stuhlbarg plays Andy Hertzfeld.
Steve Andy Hertzfeld.
Yeah, Steve Andy.
Well,
Hertzfeld.
they call him Hertzfeld the whole time, anyway.
But there's a point too where, like, this has just happened after that 1984 commercial and everything. Daniels again, he is great in this. Is talking about, so he says, did we hire skinheads for this? And he's like, oh, we wanted to have realism, and who cares? We have a couple of skinheads in there, whatever. And he's like, we've actually had skinheads on our payroll. And I think that's true. I think that's true, because they had to. They wanted to have people who looked, authentic or whatever, so they hired whoever they could to get that authenticity. This movie just flows, man. Like, this is one of those where you can pick it up anywhere. It just immediately wraps you in. It's so good.
It is.
It goes up against Birdman. Well, how are we gonna vote on this one?
Birdman is my pick.
Steve Jobs.
All right, God damn it. I'm going to have to hem and haw a little bit, because I love these movies equally.
So, while he's hemming and hawing, seen any good Taylor Swift documentaries lately?
Yeah. You know what I like about Birdman? And I guess I'm just attracted to this kind of thing, because it's similar to Eyes Wide Shut. It's similar to another movie that I saw fairly recently. The colors in this movie are just... Birdman, just pop. I love those primary things. You walk from a blue space into a stark red space, and then the opening to the roof is starkly green, and then you get this vibrant New York City skyline and all that stuff. And it's just so well acted. Emma Stone and Edward Norton.
Are you
perfect.
trying to sway the jury here?
Just while he was thinking, I was just going to list off, in case Birdman doesn't make it any further, I want to list off how much I love it.
Look, Birdman for sure, technically, is the better movie. Like, I think what he's trying to do there is really good. Steve Jobs, I feel like there's more scenes that I can sink my teeth into throughout it. And like I said, I love these movies. I mean, exactly the same probably. But maybe just because of that Steve Wozniak argument with Jobs, I'm going to have to push that one.
Oh, it's funny. They don't have the argument until the last one, but he's always talking about including the Apple II, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In each one of the vignettes.
Every
He
single
just
one.
wants them thanked. That's it.
Yeah.
And Steve, that's why that's the heart of the movie, right? Because Steve Jobs is exactly that stubborn, and exactly that vindictive. I won't even say thank you to these people. God, what a scene!
Oh yeah. Steve Jobs moves on, and I think artistic endeavor, Birdman's probably ahead on that one. In the end though, like, what is the movie that wraps you up the best? And for me, it's Steve Jobs. it's based solely on just a couple of those conversations making the edge.
You know, it's funny. I don't think people talk about Steve Jobs, like the movie. I don't. This seems like it was almost lost to time. It's maybe it's lessened because of the Ashton Kutcher version or something like that.
And I think it also when that Sony hack happened, there was all that news about that movie and Sorkin's emails and what he wanted and why he left the project, and it may have sort of tarnished the idea of the movie in the minds of people who would go see it. I don't know.
Well, that's excellent.
All right, guys, it's time to talk about BetterHelp.
Yeah. Online counseling, folks. I'm going to tie this to a movie that we're talking about today because it really resonated with me when I watched it again. 8th grade. So in 8th grade, towards the end, the girl, Kayla, is describing, she's doing a YouTube video, and she's describing how she's been feeling lately. She's going through all these transitions. She's about to go to high school. She's finishing up 8th grade. She's shy and all that stuff. And she describes her feeling as being like she's in line for a roller coaster. And like it's that anticipation. She has butterflies in her stomach and stuff like that. And she's never comfortable. And she says later on, I never get the feeling that you do after the roller coaster. She's describing anxiety to a T, like actual anxiety, treatable, clinically diagnosed anxiety, but she doesn't know how to label it. And I think it's beautifully how it's done. Bo Burnham, I think, has come out and said that he's dealt with some of these issues too. But it was so perfectly described. And I think a lot of people would describe issues with mental health. We say mental health all the time, and people don't really know how that translates to them. Like, you can't just say, oh, I'm having anxiety today. No, sometimes you're going to describe it as being in line for a roller coaster and never getting the payoff. So a place like BetterHelp, if you are having feelings like that you can't even describe, a place like BetterHelp is there to walk you through it, maybe identify what is going on, and then tackle that issue. Yeah,
and it's just, I can't tell you, I mean, I love my relationship with my therapist, and I wish everybody was in therapy. Even people that aren't diagnosed with anxiety and depression, I think, could benefit from being in therapy. But there are so many people that have barriers that for 1, 2, 6 different reasons can't or don't go to therapy. And I think that's why BetterHelp exists. I think their mission statement even says something about destigmatizing mental health and therapy and making it accessible to people who previously it wasn't. Whether that's you don't like to go, you don't like to travel, or there aren't any therapists near you.
Yeah, big problem.
Because you live in, you live in Montana and there's no towns near you. Maybe you get anxious just going to an office of a professional and you don't want to exacerbate the anxiety while trying to treat it.
Yeah.
But this is what BetterHelp is for if you want to do it through text message, video chat, phone call. It's at your pace. These are licensed professionals and they're almost always in your area.
Yeah.
We've got several people here at Cinemasins who have been using the service, and I've heard nothing but raves.
Yeah, the convenience of it, the idea, the second part, once you go through all of that stuff that you described of traveling to a therapist, finding a therapist, working in an appointment time, getting the insurance all filed away and all that stuff, you may not vibe with your therapist, like a physical therapist. At BetterHelp, if you don't vibe with your therapist or it doesn't seem like it's being productive, you can change counselors, and they encourage it. If something is not working, they say, well, let's try something else. And that's a great feature. I think that's terrific. This is a great service. BetterHelp.com. We can't recommend it enough. The convenience of it, the need for something like this is just spectacular. If you go to BetterHelp.com/SinCast, you get 10% off your first month, which is substantial. If you feel like you're having problems, whether you can define them or not, check it out, BetterHelp.com/SinCast. Do it if you need it. Go ahead.
It will go up against the winner of the 3 seed, The Big Short, and the 14 seed, Game Night.
Ooh, well, I just watched Game Night recently.
Yes, yes, we did.
How many comedies care this much about cinematography?
Very few.
Feels like there's been 1 or 2 since Game Night came out.
Maybe.
Like Tag, I think, is around there. But before this, I don't think very many.
Yeah, very few. The most comedies want you to they do that flat lighting where it's all bright and colorful all the way throughout, even when it's nighttime. It's kind of like, let's put as many bright lights as we can because this is funny. You're supposed to be in a bright mood all the time. But game night has a little bit of darkness to it.
Yes.
So they really went to the cinematography well on this one. And I don't even think it's a famous guy who did this one either.
There's that scene with the lock where the camera spins opposite the way it normally. Instead of watching the lock spin while the camera is solid, the lock doesn't move, but the camera spins.
Yeah.
And then you've got that quote unquote one shot with the Fabergé egg and the Bulgarian's house, not the Bulgarian's house, but that Fight Club house. And then you've got all the little tilt shift effects in the transitions. And it's just it's shot like an action movie.
Yeah. The cinematographer was Barry Peterson, who has shot a lot of these kind of comedies we were just talking about, like a lot of these, like 21 Jump Street.
Oh yeah.
And We're the Millers and Vacation and Sisters and those things. He also did Jumper. It's just a second Jumper reference.
Unexpected Jumper reference.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah. On this one, it's amazing to me that they all just got together and said, "Let's make this look awesome."
Yeah. They even make you mentioned like the game pieces turning into actual things.
Yeah.
Like in the last one, they even turned the plane at the end into a game piece right before it's taxiing. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie's awesome.
Yeah,
I can't believe that surgery scene still makes me cry laugh every fucking time. I've seen it, 7-8 times now.
Jason Bateman is probably one of my favorite working comic actors, and it's largely because he's such a good straight man.
Yeah.
Like he's such a in that scene. He just she says they were out of alcohol, so I got Chardonnay, and he's like, "Way to pivot, honey."
And he's not being an asshole. He's
not
sincere about it.
And then she's of course charming in anything she's in. But he's been in comedies that weren't funny. Identity Theft. It's
Teen Wolf 2.
Exactly. Well, poor bastard. But it's a really tight script. It's a really solid premise. I am not going to be surprised at all if they make another one. I don't know how much money it made, but this is a very repeatable concept, I think. And for me, I've always made the joke that Bug's Life, Three Amigos, and Galaxy Quest are the same movie in different settings. And this is another one. This is a mistaken identity and it takes it to new levels, I think, man.
I just realized both of these movies have Billy Magnuson in them.
Billy Magnuson. Oh, he's
the guy who
the
plays
idiot.
Ryan.
Yeah.
In Game Night, and he's one of the
Bite.
asshole stock traders or real estate agents in Big Short.
Wow. Bloodless Bite. Now we just have to figure out what Bloodless Bite means.
No, we don't.
Yeah, and it goes up against The Big Short, which is, I've said many times, is one of my favorite movies this decade.
I watched it again last night.
Mm-hmm.
I'd only seen it once, and I got to admit, I didn't get it. I didn't get it because I'm not smart enough the first time. Like, I just didn't pay attention enough to understand, even though he's breaking it down, like, if they say subprime, it means shit or whatever like that. There were just too many terms coming at me, even with the little cutaways and all that stuff. And so I didn't understand it. I loved it, but I didn't understand it. And I watched it last night, and I think I understand it a little more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still dumb. But
well, I don't think anybody really gets everything about that subprime thing. I've seen it 6 or 7 times, and I couldn't tell you some of the things that they're talking about in this. But yes, I mean, ultimately it comes down to the way the ratings of these things were. They would, these banks kept putting like shitty, contracts in this one thing and calling it A or double A or whatever, mortgage and everything, and then getting people to invest in it.
Yeah.
And so then and it's all based on you paying your mortgage off.
Right.
And so the whole thing is, if you don't pay your mortgage, then these things that are called A and double A, which are actually shit at this point.
Right.
That's a lot of money being sunk into things that people think are good products.
Yeah, and nothing is more clear as the visual aid of the Jenga blocks that Ryan Gosling brings out. By the way, he hates his assistant. He's always like, fuck you. Open it up and get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Where's the trash can?
Throwing the Jenga blocks into the trash.
It's so perfect. Like, that encapsulates exactly how this all worked and how this all failed and everything.
So
I was like, whoa. Huh?
So both the movies we're comparing have Magnuson and Jenga?
Yes.
Yeah, think so.
Yes, they do.
Think so.
Wow. Is that on accident?
Yes, it's on.
Thanks. Well, it's funny how many times you see something come up in a movie that you think that they're completely dissimilar and everything. Like, was it Lady Bird and what was Lady Bird going up against?
Booksmart is what we were talking about.
No, it was what was it going up against?
Lady Bird and Spotlight.
Yes. So both of those movies have small impacts from 9/11 in them.
Oh yeah,
like Lady Bird is wanting to apply to a college in New York, and they're worried about terrorism at that point because the movie's set in 2002. And Spotlight, the reason why Ruffalo is in Florida is because he's going down there to investigate the flight schools. And then what was it? There was a couple of movies I saw. I think Cabin in the Woods and 8th Grade both have Truth or Dare games in them. It's weird how those things happen a lot of times. But if you wanted to make a movie about this crisis, like, you can't make a more entertaining movie. And these people, I don't know whether to call them assholes for profiting on this, or some ways getting revenge against shitty banks. I mean, you can look at it a lot of ways. I mean, you can look at them as they're scumbags, but I don't know how you can really call them that, though.
I mean, especially the Steve Carell character, because he's just mad at the world, and he's self-loathing. He even admits, like, we're profiting off this. And the Brad Pitt character, it literally says it, like, you guys are dancing, you guys are celebrating, but people are losing their homes and jobs, and everything is going in the shitter. You guys are profiting, and in fact, they don't in the end. But don't celebrate this. But otherwise, Gosling admits that he's an asshole.
Gosling may be the only guy who's like doesn't give a fuck in this whole movie, and he's really going for that pure profit and everything. He's like, listen, you get the sundae, you get all the ice cream, the nuts and everything, and I get the little cherry on the top. But this is a miracle. This movie's a miracle. I mean, I love how they explain really tough concepts in this entertaining way. Margot Robbie in a bubble bath, Selena Gomez like playing 21
Blackjack,
or Blackjack, and just just those little things there make something that's not really entertaining very entertaining, and these characters are great in it and everything. But yeah, like Christian Bale in this, he's great. He is.
I've never seen a performance like this at all.
No, he's like inventing new people to play this guy. Like,
he's very clearly on some sort of spectrum. He doesn't make eye contact. He goes through that whole meeting with I think the first one is Deutsche Bank or something like that, where he doesn't look at them hardly at all. Like
and he's moving a lot too, and fidgeting, and but the performance-wise, it blew my mind. That was probably the most eye-opening performance in the whole movie.
It's a pun because he's got a glass eye.
Sorry, didn't mean that one.
There's a point in here where he's interviewing that kid at the beginning, and there's a point where he just fixates on this one like little expression that he has on his face, and it lasts for like 6 or 7 seconds or something like that, and you're like, whoa, what the hell is going through this guy's head?
It's almost hard to follow him at the beginning until you get used to that sort of cadence of speech. It's spectacular.
He's like, these mortgages, they're built on these bad loans. And I think the housing market's gonna go under. Man, I love this movie so much. It's gonna be every time it goes up against something, I'm gonna be worried about its fate, because I want it to go far, but it could even be knocked out on this round.
Well, I was going to say, do we want to put Game Night out of its misery?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone would defend Game Night more than me, but I'm voting for The Big Short.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, good.
I love Game Night, but Game Night is probably one of the best comedies of the decade, if not the best.
Game Night is like Belmont in this bracket. It's nice to get in there, but they're never going to win the whole thing.
The Big Short will now go up against Steve Jobs.
Sorry, Belmont students and Moon Taxi. Because they went to Belmont.
Okay. Let's go to more Land of Sorkin. The number 1 seed, The Social Network. Going up against the 16 seed, The Avengers.
I watched The Avengers recently.
Yes.
And I guess I don't have to fudge about that because we've already announced that Game Night and Avengers are two of the bonus Sins videos for Sin Week.
That's right.
That is why I watched both of them recently.
Yep.
And
you can go to Sin Week, or you can log on to Sin Week if you become a member of our Patreon.
is this podcast going to drop into? Yeah, it will. Yeah. So starting Monday, March 9th, there will be 4 bonus Sins videos. 2 public for like normal, but then an additional 4 that only Patreon members can get. Any tier, $3 and up. But Avengers. We start with Avengers?
Yeah. Again, I've always been sour on this movie a little bit. I like it. I've always been sour on this movie though, and watching it again, same issues I've had with it every time.
Yeah.
Maybe even more. Watching it this other time around. That beginning, we talked about it on another Patreon thing, the video that we did, the special video we did for them. You know, that opening Loki scene. I mean, they do not know what they want to do with these action scenes at all. I understand why they're like this. It's a huge production. They have only a small amount of time to make these movies. They are not dealing with stuntmen actors.
Yeah.
So everything is just a bunch of like cuts to like small things, you know, like I can't keep up with the action in this movie at all. And sure, by the end of it, you're like, yeah, okay, I kind of figured out what happened, but that we just watched a bunch of noise to get there. You might as well have just put 5 minutes of static on the screen.
You're right, because the even Scarlett's opening scene with the Russians, and
What's
a
wrong
lot
with that
of
one?
Huh?
What's wrong with that scene?
It's cut way more than I would care to see.
Okay.
And it's one where you can actually, you know, actually did slow this one down and like frame by framed it and everything. And, you know, like I can see, I mean, you can't see it in the fast, quick edit. You can see her stunt double. You can see where like she'll punch somebody and that person's just fucking out of commission for like however long it takes her to knock out the other guy. You know,
we do get that one scene in New York because most of the New York battle is cut like an MCU movie. But I was struck when we were writing Sins with that one 45-second, almost all computer generated take where we get, you know, Iron Man coming down and lands next to Cap and blasts off of his shield and then goes back up into the air and passes Hawkeye, and we see Hawkeye shoot some arrows and we follow an arrow and it's fucking Thor and Hulk on top of one of those beasts. And so I did, you know, praise the movie and the script for that because that's pretty much the last time you'll get that in the MCU.
That's true.
And, you know, again, you know, most of that was computer generated anyway, but it's not cut to hell, and it gave you a good sense of where everybody's at. Of course, we follow that up with some more sense about how much the rest of New York is fucked right now because all the Avengers are in one block.
Yeah, they really are. They're concentrated right on that.
They really are.
Yeah, like Loki's motivations are very hard to understand in this movie too. Like, you know, there's a point where Downey and you know, so you have Tony and Cap talking. And they're like, why do you think he wanted to imprison himself and everything? And they come to the conclusion that, oh, he's a drama queen and he wants to get the Avengers all pissed off so that when he beats them in New York, it'll seem like an awesome task of some sort. And I just felt like it was the way the movie just needed an action scene. Yeah. It's a helicarrier. They're just like, okay, we just need a scene on this helicarrier. It's an awesome thing. Let's put it in there. Yeah. None of the shit that he did made any sense at all to me at all. I'm sure some people it's like, oh yeah, totally. He's a drama queen. He'd do that. Yeah. Okay. I disagree.
Case closed.
Exactly. Case closed. And we shouldn't have to have any fucking argument about it at this point.
I feel like we're close to taking this movie out of the bracket.
Well, I don't know. Social Network's got its problems.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it's fun. It is the first time we see a collection of superheroes fighting together. The joy of that New York battle. Especially the fun Hulk stuff. It was the first time we ever got anything like that. And, you know, even the team-ups that the MCU has given us since have not necessarily had that same joy. And, you know, DC's Justice League obviously didn't get us there either. I think there's something to be said for catching lightning in a bottle a little bit, lightning, in a little bit, just to. Although I did think it was funny in Avengers near the end, one of them says, "You have the lightning," and so Thor just like throws the lightning up into the sky, and I was thinking, yeah, he's not going to need that hammer for that.
Yeah,
in a couple movies,
right?
He's not the god of hammers.
Yeah, I totally forget about that after that too. But yeah, the Hulk scenes, the Hulk beating up Loki scenes, great. That fight out in the woods with Thor and Cap and Iron
Does
Man.
mother know you weareth her drapes?
Yeah. Those are good. I mean, overall, that's an enjoyable movie. But yeah, it goes up against The Social Network.
That's a pretty good movie, that Social Network.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Social Network and Steve Jobs are tied by Aaron Sorkin dialogue and everything, and it's almost like the directors are incidental in a way. Although I think Fincher definitely adds his own stuff to the Social Network that's not really apparent from what Danny Boyle does in Steve Jobs.
Yeah, no,
there's a filter that there's a way that a Fincher film looks, from Zodiac. I'm pointing at where Zodiac used to be.
Yeah,
from Zodiac to even The Game, and Social Network, and among others, Seven has the same, not patina, but like almost like a yellow tinted type of perspective that makes it feel dreamlike.
I love the fucking score for this movie.
Yeah,
that's Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor.
6 notes of that piano where it's like boom, boom, doom, boom, boom, doom, and it is fucking perfect. Like, I love simplicity in film score, and this was, Trent Reznor. I think it was the first time he'd scored a movie.
I think so.
They've done
on this
more
scale,
since,
for sure.
And there's plenty of, I think, Reznor-esque sounding sounds here. There's some unsettling stuff when it needs to be. I think the Fincher shot of Zuckerberg running through the Harvard campus is very unique. I think that fucking tilt-shifted rowing scene is very Fincher-esque. But again, the star, I think, is Sorkin's dialogue and the actors spitting it out. And they're all pretty. Jesse Eisenberg has never been this good in anything.
Yeah, I agree.
When did Alpha Dog come out?
2005.
Okay, so it had been... I was thinking, like, this is Justin Timberlake's best performance, but he's been on a roll because he was in Black Snake Moan. Well, he was in Alpha Dog, then Black Snake Moan, and then this. He's had, besides In Time, maybe, and he's not the problem with In Time.
No, he's not.
He's had a pretty stellar acting career so far.
Yeah.
I think I like his acting more than I do his music.
Yeah. There's so many scenes in this that I love. The Eduardo throwing the computer on the ground, telling Zuckerberg to lawyer up, asshole.
So great.
I love that scene.
Because I'm not coming back for whatever percent. I'm coming back for
all
everything.
And Timberlake has that thing where he's like he's sort of dick measuring contest with Eduardo in there, where everybody knows me or something like that. Or so just, how many people know you or something? What is it? What is the thing where he says nobody?
Oh, you're that, because it's when Eduardo shows up in the rain to the house and they're bickering before Zuckerberg comes out, and Eduardo needles him about his failed ventures or whatever, and he basically says that everybody knows who I am because of those ventures, and you know how much I've heard about you.
Nothing. And then he gets him in trouble because he's doing blow off of with some underage
girls. They all say they're 18 when the cops come in. 18.
He's such a scumbag.
Yeah,
but I love it.
Yeah, it's good.
What's funny about this movie is that Eduardo and Zuckerberg go out to celebrate Face Smash or whatever it is that first night. And they go out to the bar and they hook up with these randos. They give them blowjobs in the toilet, and I think they end up like dating. They both end up dating.
One of them does. Eduardo does. The one with Eduardo becomes his girlfriend.
Okay.
Zuckerberg does not.
Oh, okay.
But then that girl is the one that like burns his trash can, and she's like, "I left you 46 messages today. 46 messages. Did you know that?" And he says, "Yes," and I think that was completely normal behavior.
and he's like, "And why haven't you changed your status on Facebook?" It's like, "I don't know how." You mean the vice president of Facebook doesn't know how to change his status on Facebook? And then she burns that. What's that gift? Or whatever. She burns something and like puts it on the bed and starts burning.
Yeah.
And everything is like, and then he yells at her, and it was, I can't remember what everything he says, but he goes, but at the end of it, he's like, "And also, I'm breaking up with you."
You know, I just realized that Jurassic Park kid I talked about is in this fucking movie. He's he's the third roommate.
Really?
That codes with them or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You knew his name when I thought of a second ago.
Joseph Mazzello.
Joseph Mazzello. He's in this movie. And I will never see that kid without thinking Jurassic Park. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's Dustin, I think, their roommate.
You know, it's weird. Do we and we're considering Zuckerberg in this movie. We're not thinking about Zuckerberg in the real world
Yeah,
here.
you can't.
But is Zuckerberg in this movie, do you think the actions he takes, do you think he's really trying to screw people over, or do you think his mind works at such a fast rate that he wants to get this stuff done now and he doesn't want to be slowed down by anybody, and so he does things that go against people's feelings essentially because he wants to get it done fast?
I think so.
So like,
I think there's some of that, but like at least with Eduardo, when he screws over his shares. Mm-hmm. That's direct retaliation for Eduardo freezing the bank account, I think. Mm-hmm. With the Winklevosses, I'm more willing to think that he thought they would slow him down, and the idea was too important to pursue. I never get the vibe in the movie like he's like, "I'm going to fuck these kids over."
Yeah.
No, I think he's just in his own head so much that he doesn't consider other people's feelings.
No, he's like, "They'll fuck it up. I'll make it good." Yeah.
Yeah, I've never gotten the sense in this movie that he's really actively trying to screw over anybody. It's just that he gets an idea, he's like, "I'm going to go with it," and he doesn't think about all the relationships involved with it. Same thing. I mean, we see that right at the beginning, right? When Rooney Mara is like, breaks up with him, and then he goes and does that Hot or Not, essentially, website that very night.
Yeah. He's unconcerned with other people's feelings, except for he finds an appeal with Sean Parker. Because of the fame, I guess. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, he's just in his own loop. Like, nothing else is considered.
Mm-hmm.
If I was a drug dealer, I couldn't give free drugs away to 600 people in one day.
Yeah. Okay, so Social Network.
Social Network.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Iron Man.
Yeah.
He's doing just fine. Well, actually, he's not doing fine.
Social Network will go up against the winner of the 8 seed Parasite, or the 9 seed The Florida Project.
Wow.
Oh, man. I tell you what, I rewatched Parasite, and...
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I need to watch it again.
I got it on Blu-ray.
What'd you think?
It's better the second time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And you loved it the first time, too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to watch this
I
movie
watched
again.
The Florida Project this morning.
Really?
I wish one of you fuckers had told me that was going to break me.
Oh, I don't think I would have guessed actually that it would have broken you, but it does have. Let's go ahead and talk about the Florida Project.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about this movie because we haven't really talked about it. You saw it when it came out, I think, right?
Yeah, I saw it in theaters,
but we haven't, as the three of us discussed.
Yeah.
So the Florida Project is going over it's not I wouldn't call it. It's a situation or a phenomenon. I don't know if you want to call it a phenomenon of basically homeless people who are living in these cheap motels around Disney World.
Yeah.
And I feel like they set this up so well too at the beginning. Like everything is just so garish and just offensive. Like every building is either like one solid color or the storefronts are like got a big giant Jesus head or something like that. And the movie's episodic. It just follows around this little girl and her friend. What's they call him? Everybody's got an E at the
Mooney
end.
and Scooty.
Scooty is the main kid, and I think he was an actual kid who lived in like a motel like this.
Oh,
That's
really?
fascinating.
Yeah. And so you have Brooklyn Prince and you have him, and then they run into very beginning of the movie. They're spitting on this woman's car.
They're so awful.
Yeah.
They're so like the movie makes me hate these kids
Yes.
in the first 3 minutes, and by the end I was bawling.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, they're such little shits.
They are. You know that they're just like, I mean, they're almost like they're becoming what they will be when they're
Yes.
adults, right?
Yes.
And
That
they're
woman-
only 6 or so.
The woman
right?
whose car they're spitting on says, "I'm going to come up there and tell your parents," and then Mooney goes, "I don't live here, bitch."
Yeah. And then Mooney ends up spitting on a little girl that ends up being one of their friends.
Yep.
What's so funny is like after they spit on this car and they run away, and then they're told that they have to come back and clean the car. And, the Mooney's mom is played by Bria Venite, who's was discovered on Instagram.
Yeah.
Well, she's good at playing a terrible mother.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Terrible person.
Yes.
Yeah. They said basically the punishment is to go back and clean the car. While they're cleaning the car, the little redhead girl that was spit on ends up helping them clean
She's
the
like,
car.
can I help? Because they're having fun with it.
Yeah.
She is, I love this movie. I love this movie a lot. And you're right. I broke down at the end too. She's a terrible person. She's a terrible character in this movie. You can tell that there's probably almost definitely a history there of maybe trauma or something like that causes her to act how she acts.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not given any of that information.
No.
So she just comes across as just a terrible fucking person. And it does bother me, but I think it's supposed to bother me.
Like they run in after spitting on the car, and she's just laying on bed smoking a blunt.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did love the moment when the child services come and the girl runs off, and the camera's zooming in on the mother as she says, "You let her run away, and I'm the one that's unfit."
Yeah.
And it zooms right in on her mouth, and she goes, "Fuck you!"
Yeah.
I thought that performance was great. Now,
It is.
for all I know, she wasn't doing a lot of acting. I don't know. I'm not trying to say she's a bad mother in real life or anything.
No.
No, this is
It's just the way it's presented. She is irredeemable to me.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's an Instagram model. I actually saw an interview with her, and she kind of has that affectation of how she speaks in this movie, but it's a little bit different.
Mm.
And she's she's just a single Instagram model. I don't think she has any experience with any of the stuff that's going on in the movie at all. But I think they portray her as awful, but maybe loves her daughter. But
When it's convenient, it seems like.
yeah, I guess.
The only thing that she does well or right by that kid is put her in the fucking bathroom when she does her online sex shit.
And even that, I'm not going to give her credit for that.
No.
Oh, it's not online. It's
That's right.
there's-
She did- yeah.
These guys are actually coming over. There's even a scene too. It's pretty well done where she's Brooklyn Prince is taking her like bath or whatever, and the guy walks in. You don't see him walk in. You just hear the noises. And he's like, "Oh my God, you got a kid in here?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Get back in here! I told you not. The bathroom was off limits." And then the next scene, she's selling these like Disney World bands.
Yeah.
I was not aware that Disney World had these kind of colored bands.
They do. It pays for everything.
It opens your hotel door.
Yep.
Oh, really?
You can pay for your meals or buy a Coke in the park. It's rad.
It does everything.
But also totally tracking your every movement and using that data.
Sure, yeah, sure. And she's selling those. I think they've got a value of like $1,700 or some shit. And she sells it for like $400 to some dude who comes into the parking lot and she's like, "Oh, they're gonna try to sell you all this other stuff and everything here. Just he's like, I'll go into the park with you if you want. I could promise these will work." And then later on, the dude we only heard off screen shows up to the motel room and says, "I know you took those things. I know you stole them and everything." And she basically was like, "You say I don't know what you're talking about." Blah blah blah. And gets Willem Dafoe, who's fantastic, got nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah.
Gets Willem Dafoe in on it and everything. And she's like, "I've never seen this motherfucker in my life." Blah 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 blah. And then when she comes back in, Brooklyn Prince is like, "Oh, did he need to come back and pee again?"
Yeah.
And she's so, Yeah, oh man, Brooklyn Prince is so good in this.
Has she been in anything else?
I think she had been in some other things before this, and she's been in stuff.
She's
since.
playing a 6-year-old. I don't think she's much older than that.
No, and I think from what I understand on this production, the kids were given a script, but they were encouraged to do a lot of ad-libbing. And you can see too, I've seen behind the scenes of this, where the director is like feeding them lines off the camera and everything. And they say this, all right, say this, and say it this way, this type of thing. And then they'll say, I think they just say, hey, you're talking about this, start talking about this, and they'll come up with their own things.
Yeah, the ending of this movie, she's such a talented and I guess natural actress. The end of this movie, what breaks me is that she starts crying like a little girl. Mm-hmm. She shows up at her friend's room, and it's like a 6-year-old crying.
Well,
the whole time she's been foul mouthed and like basically just rubber.
Because she knows Teflon. They're going to take her away.
She just starts crying like.
Well, and she even says, I can't say it. And the other friend's like, what? This is going to break me just talking about it. But she says, I'm expecting her to say, they're going to take me away from my mom, or these mean men are here. But all she says is, bye. Like, she just says bye and starts crying. Yeah. And the girl grabs her hand and says, we're going to run to fucking Disney World. I bawled like 2 hours ago. I bawled like a baby because we moved a lot when I was a kid. I had to say goodbye. I was never taken off by child services to foster care, but I had to say goodbye to my best friends when I was a really little kid. And I didn't realize that nerve was still so raw until I watched this movie. And it's such a gut punch. Like,
it is.
What are the odds that girl's life gets better?
No, she's just going to have that moment at the Magic Kingdom. And that's the perfect place. Her friend knows exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to see the proximity of something like Disney fucking World to this extreme
That's how it is,
property.
Man. That's how it is.
They shot that scene without Disney World's approval.
You could tell. That is
because
very guerrilla.
They are running.
Yeah. But they get all the way to the castle, man.
They didn't,
sure they
didn't have,
right at the end.
like, obviously the little girls in the movie didn't stop and buy a bracelet to get in or whatever, but but my sin brain was like, hey, somebody stop those kids.
But yes, this is a really good movie. It's like I said, it's episodic. There's not really a plot. I mean, other than the mother is trying to make ends meet, and at the beginning she's saying that she's when she goes to the unemployment, I think she's trying to get she's supposed to get 30 hours of a job. I guess they don't care what job, because she's talking about her stripper job.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that, I had to leave that place because the manager said I had to do extra stuff that I wasn't comfortable with. We don't know if that's true or not.
Right.
And then she starts selling these, like, she buys these perfumes wholesale and then tries to make it out like they're like some expensive perfume that she's giving a deal on to all these people. Those were real people, by the way.
Oh, wow.
They had to go and like get the permission for them to be in a movie afterwards.
Oh, wow.
And everything. But she's going around trying to sell those perfumes, and then finally she just ends up saying, all right, well, I'm going to start hooking now.
Yep.
And then and it's also a little heartbreaking too, because she's got this best friend who lives directly underneath.
Yeah.
And they're best buds and everything, but because of the apartment, they burned that abandoned building.
Yeah.
And it's, she's like, doesn't want her kid hanging. Now her friend also starts fucking that up. She fucks this up because she doesn't tell why she just says you can't play with them anymore. And then when they always have that morning go to get waffles at the place where she works and everything. And she's like, I'm not going to give you any more. I'm not going to give you any more free food.
Yeah.
And tell your mom I don't want you hanging out with my kid anymore. She doesn't say the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that whole friction starts and everything. But God, yeah, she beats the fuck out of her, man.
In front of the kid too, man.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah.
Jesus.
The movie has emotions. I liked watching the movie. It's difficult themes and all that stuff, but I thought it was a very good experience.
I thought, okay, so Willem Dafoe is maybe one of the best things about the movie, But he was on the verge of pulling me out of it because he's such a big name and everybody else in this movie is so new.
Yeah.
And like even apparently some of the people were real people who were just walking by. And then there's Willem Dafoe, famous actor.
There was
so
like
good.
they were in real motels with real people and real workers and everything. Yeah, that was a thing. What?
I'm just thinking about the time where he has to tell the woman to cover up.
Oh,
Yeah.
He's like, come on, you can't do that.
And yeah. He's like, what? I have big titties. I want to put them out. And then he like tries to put some clothes. He's like, oh my God, you touched my tit.
All the time the kids are going like, boobies.
Yeah. But yeah, I was during that making of or whatever, he said something like, I almost didn't want to put Willem Dafoe in here for that very reason that you're talking about, because but I wanted to have somebody that, I mean, you have to have somebody to try to sell it.
well, and he's perfect. He's great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad he got nominated.
And
He didn't pull me out of the movie. There was a couple of times where I thought, wow, he's the only name actor in this whole thing.
Yeah, and you have Caleb Landry Jones who plays his son.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, there's all sorts of the maxi pad scene in this. Apparently the director said that happened to him as a theater manager.
Oh
my
Jesus.
God.
So like he told some girls to stop acting up or something like that. And he was 17 at the time. And a girl did that very thing.
Oh my
Jesus Christ.
Okay. So it goes up against Parasite, which there is a similar theme.
There is. Poverty is the main underlying theme, and how people react to it. I don't think the people in Parasite react to it much better than the people in Florida Project do.
No.
They don't turn to hooking, but there's something a little more sinister about what they do.
That's right.
I watched this movie with a little bit of a different eye this time, just looking at, maybe some symbolism. And the main symbolism that I got out of it was, think about where they're living. The one image from the first time I watched this that just kept going through my head was the little like thing where they're hanging the socks.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, why does he start with that? He starts with this shot of the little circular thing with the socks hanging up on it. And then the camera moves down and we see the son who's trying to find a Wi-Fi signal. And it started to realize that the reason why he starts with that is that they are beneath everybody. They are beneath people's feet. They are beneath people who are going to use the bathroom outside, and there's a bunch of garbage out there. They are beneath that.
They're literally,
yes,
and figuratively beneath that.
Yes. And so it's interesting once the son starts going to the richer house, you start seeing him ascending. And they go up, and everything is higher and higher and higher. And we don't know really how low they are until later on in the movie, if you're looking at this theme and everything. So they get into this house, and yeah, the whole movie is basically them sort of usurping every person that's working for this family and getting their own family members in to replace them. But there's a point when after they've been spending the night and they expect the family to be out for the evening, and they can just use their house while they're gone and everything, and they're like throwing chips everywhere.
Yeah. Girls getting shit faced.
Yeah, exactly. And there's the giant rainstorm, and they've come back early and all that, and they've had to hide under this table this whole time.
Oh my God.
It's when they finally get out, and it's raining super hard, and this is that flooding scene and everything. But notice the path that they have to go to get back. You don't know how high they've had to go, how high they've had to walk to get to this house. But once they start running back to their old house, you see them go down a stairway that is longer than the one that's in Joker.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, they are really far down. This is how far down their characters, these people are in this whole thing. And it made me also start thinking about how low does he think that the guy living in the basement is? Because even that guy is above them. Even that guy doesn't have to worry about his next meal because he's going to be getting it from this rich family some way, one way or another. It's funny, he's that far down, but he's still that much higher than this family.
Yeah, man, the image that stuck with me, I've seen this twice. The first time I watched it, the one that stuck with me the most, when they go back and the house is flooded, is the image of the girl trying to keep the toilet lid down while the sewage is coming up as she tries to just smoke a fucking cigarette.
That's
in
so
the
crazy.
bathroom.
That's the image that I go to too for whatever reason.
Well, I used to smoke, so I understand the desire for nicotine when crisis happens.
It's her being almost casual
It is.
about all this literal shit piling up around her that I think is emblematic of this whole story.
Yeah, yeah, it's so good. Even when they're lying under that table, you could say that's them being beneath the rich people who are on the couch. I'm going to make that Ramdan, though. I talked my wife into it.
Oh, man, that looks awesome, doesn't it?
I probably will not use a $100 piece of steak like they did. And even that's fascinating to look at. I've seen maybe 5 videos this week of people teaching how to make your own Ramdan. But like in the movie, even when the rich people eat poor people food, because Ramdan is considered poor people food, they throw a $100 steak on it.
Yeah.
And it's just another wrinkle at how different these two people's lives are. And of course, the quote-unquote supposedly poor woman didn't even know how to make the dish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, it's a fascinating look at not just poverty and wealth, but just class systems. And the whole thing that sets it off is, I can smell the poor on you, basically, is what this guy says, and I think that would set anybody off.
Yeah, well, and it's that he's been hearing this over and over again, and how, like, even though he's doing everything that he's supposed to do, he's the perfect employee and everything, still that one thing has been, and he's been just kind of saying the father or whatever, the head of the household, has been sort of saying this. And he's been internalizing it this whole time, because when he first mentions that, they all go back to their old house and they're like, so we're going to have to start washing our clothes and with different detergents and everything. It's like, no, it's the smell around here. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how we clean our clothes and everything. It's this basement that's the problem.
It's part of who we are.
This is even though that's an asshole-ish comment to make, I don't think he's trying to be an asshole. Is anybody a true asshole in this movie?
Oh,
even the rich people.
I think the head of the household is.
Yeah.
There's a point where and this is another thing that I think that is sort of internalized, is when, and I wish I could do names justice, so I'm gonna see if I can try to do this. But the father of the Parasite family. Kim Ki-tak, I don't know. But the head of that family, he's driving this Mercedes, I think. And he's a point where the husband or whatever says something offhand about his wife, and he goes, "What? You love your wife, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, let's call it that." And so, like, the guy's like, "Man, you don't even love your wife. He doesn't seem to be like much of a father really at all. He just kind of does what his mom, what his wife tells him. He makes the orders, but she's the one who does the actual, like, hiring and firing and all that. She doesn't do any actual work though. She all she does is lie around napping all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's the closest to being the absolute total bastard. Everybody else has got their rough edges though, but
yeah, I'm not sure I can look at anyone and call them totally bad or totally good.
Yeah, I think that's the magic of the movie.
What's also probably the point of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is just fantastic. It's one of those stories that you cannot figure out where it's going to go. You think you do, you think you kind of do. But they go through this whole thing where you're like, okay, they've infiltrated this family. They're getting 4 incomes from this rich family, including the daughter is getting like a huge amount for this art therapy that she's doing and everything, and stuff that she apparently just Googled before. They're getting 4 incomes, and you're like, okay, there's going to be something. They're going to get found out somehow, whatever. They're never found out. And because of some other secret that they don't know about, which is this secret room that's in the house housing this dude who's like running away from tax. He's like a tax evasion guy, because they don't know that story. The whole ending is got to be the most confusing thing ever for this family.
Oh yeah,
because they have no idea all the thing, and it baffles the news later when the news is talking about it too. They're like, and they don't know where the father ended up. They don't know where.
What a beautiful reveal, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
That last shot, that last sequence, just blew my mind.
Yeah. He's the son's decided that he's going to make money. He's going to go to college. He's going to make money. He's going to buy that house.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah,
it's never going to happen.
Yep.
God, this movie rules.
Yes, it does.
It is one of, I said it before, I will say it till I die. It is one of the most I do not know what's coming next movies I have ever seen. And if that is a feeling you enjoy, that alone should get you to watch this movie, because you will not, even though we spoiled some of it, you will not see the twists and turns coming. And it plays like 4 or 5 different movies at different times.
Yep.
It's so good.
Yes, and I don't know if we need to do spoilers on this. I think people know that we're going to be talking about the movies
at this point.
Whole.
Yeah.
Anyway, these two go up against it. And when I first saw this, I thought this was an absolute mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
And it may still be. But Florida Project is way better than I gave it credit for.
Oh, it's so good.
And I liked it. But this is I watched it a second time through, and it's just, man, it's movie's good, but I'm picking Parasite here.
Parasite.
Definitely Parasite. I love me some Florida Project. I'm glad I watched it.
I'm glad I can make that decision having only seen Parasite twice and Florida Project once, as opposed to like I've saw Parasite 10 times, but I just watched Florida Project this morning. So Florida Project, like I said, wrecked me. Parasite didn't make me bawl like a baby, but it's a better movie.
I tell you what, man, there is an image in Parasite that makes me laugh every time. They even showed it during the Oscars. When they're trying to get rid of the housekeeper, and they're building up this idea that she's got TB,
tuberculosis,
and they're throwing this peach fuzz on her so that she'll start coughing because she's like, she's allergic to peach, and so they come home. He and the mother of the household come home. And she's coughing like just ridiculous. They've just had this big TB talk, and she's coughing ridiculous amounts, like going over to the trash can or going into another room. And then dude goes over to the trash can and like pours that hot sauce on the napkin, and that look on his face, that dead-eyed look on his face when he shows the napkin with the blood, quote unquote, on it, and he's just like that. that look on his face is so priceless. Makes me laugh every time, even though they're totally fucking that housekeeper.
No kidding, man.
But yeah, Parasite moves on against The Social Network, and we're gonna have a battle on that one.
Oh my god.
Our final 2 matchups are the 5 seed Gravity against the 12 seed Boyhood.
Gravity.
Yeah. So the first of the last 2 matchups here, Gravity. It was this was the second. What was of the space? I consider all these space movies to be. I think it's the first one. Right?
I think it is. Yeah.
First one of these big heady space movies that had come out in the middle part of the decade. It is a singular theater experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The only 3D movie I've ever enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only movie I've ever enjoyed watching in 3D.
Oh, you actually did watch it in 3D.
I did. Well, it was accidental. From what I remember, it was just the timing. That was the only show I had an option to see.
I saw this movie in Chicago on my birthday. It came out October 5th, 2013.
That was a good birthday.
Went to see the Chicago Symphony Orchestra the night before, then went to see Gravity.
Jesus, that's a pretty good trip.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I think I saw this twice. I don't remember if I saw it in IMAX both times, but I saw it in IMAX at least once, and that IMAX, man, that whole the space and the big huge earth in the background and all the stuff that happens. This is just it's an experience. It sort of suffers on its rewatch value because of that, right?
Yeah.
Because now you can't really emulate that unless you get some $100,000 TV screen.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially with the way it starts.
Yeah.
I mean, the way it kicks off after that first little interlude with her flying off into the depths of fucking space in the theater, immersed in that, is the most terrified that I've been maybe ever in a theater.
Well, I think I joked that it's a horror movie, that you could at least call it one.
Yeah.
It made me anxious for all the right reasons, gripping the seat handles and, because I don't think there's been a movie that's really put us in that, right? Like, there's been space movies that show us, well, there goes Tim Robbins. He's flying off into space. He's over there. But none that ever made us feel like...
Tim Robbins.
It's Mission to Mars, by the way.
Yeah.
But nobody's ever put us in the middle of that,
Yeah.
to where the viewer feels and experiences the disorientation of tumbling through space.
You see just a brief shot of the Earth.
The fucking Earth flies by in like
yeah.
a nanosecond. God, it's terrifying. Quaron is really something special.
He is.
And I'm excited to see anything he makes from here on. But he's shaping up to be a little bit Danny Boyle in terms of he's not genre specific.
No.
We get, something like character study like E2 Mama, Tom Bien. Then we get something like Children of Men, which is a big heady idea. And then we get Gravity, which is like a space anxiety thing. And then we get Roma, which is like nothing ever before.
Yeah.
What's he going to do next?
I don't know.
know.
He's amazing.
Yeah. We had never really seen anything like this. And, I mean, and he's got this theme that keeps going through his whole movies, man. It's about motherhood and children. And Sandra Bullock has lost a child in this, and it sort of motivates her throughout this entire thing to try to get back, and including the last scene where she's coming out of the water, and that's a big childbirth metaphor and everything. He loves him some coming out of the water childbirth type stuff.
He does.
Yeah. And there's a very minimal score on this too.
Yeah, it's really good, but it is minimal. I love, and it's funny you had it in your song, but I love that they killed off Clooney, and I love that they killed him off so early. And because if you had a buffer to go back and forth with, you wouldn't have the anxiety that this the claustrophobia that this movie does. Once he's gone, she is alone in the vacuum of space.
Yeah, until his
with
ghost shows
no
up.
fucking way back.
Yeah, although before he dies, he's so fucking level-headed. Like, his dialogue gives no indication they're in the middle of an emergency. He's like, all right, well, here's what we need to do. You need to go over here and open this hatch, and then together we're going to... Like, he's so fucking calm. Like, you can see the juxtaposition of how a professional astronaut handles a crisis and how a teacher who's gone up there for one mission handles a crisis.
You got to sip it like wine, not chug it like beer.
Yeah. No, but that keeps her alive.
Yep.
Anyway, I love this movie.
Yeah. It goes up against Boyhood,
Mm-hmm.
Richard Linklater's 12-year odyssey there.
Yeah.
He gets Eller Coltrane at the age of, I think, 7.
Yep.
And makes this movie over, I think, a course of maybe 13 years. And I guess they're all like small short stories per year for like 15 minutes or something like that.
Progressively more asshole-ish, alcoholic.
My God, man.
Partners
Patricia Arquette cannot catch a break in this movie.
No.
They all, like, every single person that, the first boyfriend, that's your typical asshole boyfriend. Then the next guy is like a college professor of some sort or whatever, and he seems funny, and it's like, he seems a little old for her, but like he seems like a stable presence. He's a big fucking alcoholic and asshole. Like he might be the biggest asshole in this movie.
Is he the one? Yeah, it's this scene. I think it's this scene where you see him. He goes to the garage and pours like an entire cup of vodka and puts like a splash of Sprite.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it's like, why did you even have the Sprite?
Exactly. And then when he gets to the table for dinner, he's got this big glass of whiskey, and he's like, "I'm having a drink with my dinner," and it's such a true representation of alcoholism. And how it can wreck everything. I think he ends up throwing the glass at the kid.
Yeah, he throws a dish or something at him.
Yeah, I mean, but that one really resonated with me. That Linklater's is coming from a very honest place, and even though this is terrible relationship after terrible relationship, it's it's an honest depiction, I think.
I think so.
And the kids too are all you can see sort of like it's weird how I don't know if this is typical too, but it's almost like the kids are trained to not like go one way or the other, like don't show your fear, don't show that you're scared or anything, because this guy's doing some scary shit. And when he says, I'm going to have a drink with my dinner, does anybody have a problem with that? They're all like, no, no problem. No. Like, because it's almost like they know if they say no problem, like that's going to be worse. And then the third guy, he's like this war hero guy. He like was a part of all these like tours and then he was retired, and then 9/11 happens, and then he's like, on 9/12 I went back, and he's like, oh man, this guy's a superhero. And like, even when there's a part where Ella Coltrane comes back and he's 15 years old, it's his birthday and everything. Hey, what time is it? And he goes, it's 12:15. It's your birthday today. And and so you're like, oh, she finally found the guy that's awesome. And then like, he's a drunk asshole too. By the end of it. She just can't buy a break.
I don't think a movie has to be saying something. But is this movie saying anything? Is this movie asking you to wonder what this kid's life might be like if she found a good boyfriend? Or
no, I think it's just showing what the possibility of filming a project longitudinally. It's like the 7-Up films, right? 7-Up, 14-Up, and all that
This
stuff.
is your typical Richard Linklater, actually. If you just take out the fact that he is doing an experiment essentially with this, it's dialogue driven. It's stuff about life, and these kids. I mean, they talk like kids too. They wax philosophic about things, and they sound totally stupid, But that's the way it is. Some terrific moments with Ethan Hawke and who's their actual biological dad in this. And everything. There's a scene where he's trying to talk about condoms with his daughter, Lorelei Linklater, who's Richard Linklater's daughter, is playing the sister in this. But like he's like, I want to talk about. Does your mom talk to you about contraception? He's like, oh my God, Dad. He's like, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna go out there, you gotta have condoms. And she's just like, oh my God, come on, Dad. I think it's just it's your typical Linklater movie, really. I mean. Just conversational and everything. It's for some brief moments there, I'm like, I don't know if I would like this kid. Like, not because it's not but like, I don't know if I could hang out with somebody like this who's just like, I'm not into a lot of this shit. I'm always like, I'm just into my photography and but he's a very real person. That's the thing. I don't mean to say that I wouldn't like him as a person. It's just that I don't think I would hang around this guy. But that's what makes it so real to me. But yeah, this is a really good movie.
It is.
Really good.
It's way better than an experimental movie should be, right? Like, you watch an experimental movie, you are watching to appreciate the experiment. And if a fantastic movie comes out of it, you're even more impressed. Like, I watched Gus Van Sant's Psycho. I watched that purely to see, what is he doing? What's the point here? Not because I thought it was going to be a great Psycho movie, and it's not.
It's not.
But this transcends the gimmick. And I think it's partly because they lucked into a kid that was a pretty decent actor, or at least good at acting like a normal kid. And then at Ethan Hawke, I just think always makes realism feel real. That's something about Ethan Hawke.
He's a good one.
He's so good. He got nominated as well in this. Patricia Arquette won.
Yeah.
There was some interesting things in this. Linklater, I think, told Patricia Arquette, please don't have any plastic surgery. Because this is not what her character would do.
Yeah.
An interesting thing to ask of anybody, just for your 12-year project and everything, because, maybe she wanted to. Maybe I don't know if she did or not.
Well, he's doing another grand experiment, right? Like, he's making a movie that's not going to release for 100 years or something like that.
Oh, I don't know.
I hadn't heard about that.
I know that there was a movie that was made a while back that was it Elon Musk or somebody bought or whatever. Like, somebody made a movie that had Christopher Walken in it, and they nobody will be able to watch it until the year 2164 or something like that.
Really?
And it may have been one person who got to see it. And he bought the rights to see it, and I think it might have been Elon Musk or somebody like that. And yeah, this movie, no one will see the light of day. Nobody living today will see it.
Interesting. All right. Way to go, Elon.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not. But yeah, this is such a hard matchup for Boyhood, though.
It is.
As good as it is, I mean, even though the movie's 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's long.
And Gravity, I think, is only an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Is it really? Yeah.
Even though it's 2 hours and 45 minutes, it goes by pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way that he segments these things into these 14 to 15 minute bites really make it move along.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's not any one section where he's stuck in this one spot for very long and everything. So like as it changes, you're like, okay, we're on to the next chapter. We're on to the next chapter. But yeah, it's a tough matchup. I'm going to be picking Gravity here.
You always look at me when you're not sure what to pick.
No, I know what I'm going to pick.
I pick Gravity.
Me too. I love Gravity. I can watch Gravity 50 times and not get tired of it.
I wish I could find that story I was thinking about with Richard Linklater. I may have to Google when I get home.
Gravity.
John Malkovich and Robert Rodriguez have made a movie that won't be seen for 100 years. The film, aptly titled 100 Years, is set in the present but won't be seen until November 18th, 2115, according to IO9. Malkovich was approached for an idea by a liquor brand, Louis XIII Cognac, which is also aged 100 years.
Oh my God, it's a fucking product placement?
Maybe, I guess. I mean, who knows?
A liquor brand initiated this, and they have 100-year brewing whatever, and this is 100. This is a scam. That's what this is. I'm glad I'll be dead.
Not me, man. I'm living until I can see this. But there were several options when the project was first presented of what the future would be. Incredibly high-tech, beyond computerized version of the world, a post-Chernobyl, back to nature, semi-collapsed civilization. And then there was a retro future, which was how the future was imagined science fiction in the 1940s and 50s. In a cool twist, Louis XIII will be giving out 1,000 metal tickets that will allow the receiver's descendants to see the screening of 100 years in 100 years.
There you go.
So yeah. On to the final matchup. And I saved this one because I think this might be the hardest one.
Yep.
The 4 seed, The Cabin in the Woods, and the 13 seed, 8th Grade. Talk about and yeah, I watched these two back to back.
Oh wow.
Talk about now on initial sighting of this, I was like, oh, this is Cabin in the Woods all the way.
Yep.
Now I've watched both the movies again.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, it is. 8th Grade is spectacular.
It is. And these movies, these small movies that you remember loving and you haven't seen in forever, you're over time, your thoughts sort of like, well, it was good, but it's not like that good or whatever. It really is that good.
It is.
Elsie Fisher is fantastic in 8th Grade.
She is.
You know, you could almost be tricked into believing she's an unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But she's been acting for a long time. The two things I was struck with, I watched this last night. The two things I was struck
You've really
with.
been doing homework, man.
Well, I was laid up with my knee for a little bit, but I actually said to my wife, I'm sorry, I can't watch this thing with you. I've got to watch this movie or else the podcast listeners will call me a liar. I was struck with how honest and open a performance that is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if on the page, I might not take that role as an actor because it's kind of thankless for a lot of the scenes.
It's unflattering,
yeah,
for sure.
That's the best way to say it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that struck me most is this is his first fucking movie. And it feels like he's made 10. She's doing one of her YouTube videos, and she's talking about getting out there more. I always love how she does the boxes, getting out there more.
Yeah.
And then we cut to her going to this girl's birthday party. By the way, I did make a special note. I wanted to point out this girl's name is Kennedy Graves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kennedy Graves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Kennedy graves.
Right.
Okay. She goes to this party, and like you're hearing her talk about how important it is to get out there and put yourself out there. But the music and her face as she moves through this party is telling you, "Oh, this was a mistake. I should not be here." And the music is like, it's like super unsettling. Yeah. But yeah, she's fantastic. You get a lesser actor in that role, and it's a forgettable movie, I think.
Yeah. This is. I mean, we're commenting on a child's performance and all that stuff, but like. You can see her acne. You can see, like, you know, an unflattering swimsuit, that kind of thing. Everything is on display. And you're right. That's what will strike you. She's fearless in this role.
She is. And you know who she's watching for makeup tips in the beginning?
Who?
Olivia Jade, daughter of Lori Loughlin, who was a YouTuber until until the Varsity Blues scandal. She's watching that girl in the beginning for like makeup tips and whatnot.
Wow.
I made a lot of notes.
Yeah.
I almost started writing Sins because I got confused for a while.
Did you like it?
I loved it. I was expecting it to crush me more, which is not to say what,
dude. That fire pit scene. I can't even fucking.
And maybe it's just been my mood. It turned out that Florida Project was the one that crushed me, and this one I really, really liked.
She's been so standoffish and has been a normal teenager this whole time. With an unsung hero of this movie is Josh Hamilton, by the way.
Yes.
You know, he's obviously a great dad, and he's also somebody who doesn't know quite what to do. He knows that he doesn't want to get angry at her or, like, you know.
What's he from?
I actually don't know.
You said his name like I should know it, but I didn't know that was who you're talking about. But I wanted to make a note about how he's a good dad.
He's great.
He clearly cares. He's trying.
Mm-hmm.
But she's in this age where it really doesn't matter if he's a good dad or not. She's not going to let him in to her life.
He's relentless. That scene at the mall where,
oh my God,
they look up and some old dude's been looking at it. Shows him, and he's totally caught. He's like, oh shit.
He's been in a ton of stuff. He was in Manchester by the Sea. He was also apparently in Alive.
Oh, interesting.
The old cannibal movie.
He was the main guy in Kicking and Screaming.
Oh yeah, that's right.
If you can't beat him, eat him.
Yeah, exactly. That was the original title. But he's you know, he's just sort of, you know, it's. I've been watching these movies lately, and I'm going to bring up some movies that have absolutely nothing to do with 8th grade, but something like Grandma's Boy, which has a character in it that it's got to be one of the most thankless roles to play. And if you're familiar with Grandma's Boy, right?
Oh yeah,
the main developer guy, the weird nerdy.
Oh yeah.
And you know, to play roles like this, it's got to be tough for an actor because you can't do it. You're not cool. You're not a cool person at all. You're doing things that are weird and awkward and everything. And people tend to gravitate towards the cool and you know, in Boyhood, you're gravitating towards Ethan Hawke, and everybody else doesn't, you know, everybody else seems weird and awkward and whatever. And you know, it's got to be the most difficult job in the world to be like this. But I immediately love this character Elsie Fisher plays because of we're introduced to her through these YouTube videos, and there's none of this polished nonsense. You can every and every you know, and you know, all these things are in the videos, and I feel like that's her therapy, these YouTube videos. That's sort of the person she wants to be.
Absolutely.
In these YouTube videos. That's why it's so devastating that when she does hang out with the high school kids and the one dude is all like, let's take our shirts off and all that, and that she comes back saying, I don't want to do YouTube videos anymore. So it's crushing the fact that even happens to her at this early of an age. Mm-hmm. But the fact that she's gotten to the point that she doesn't even want to do her videos anymore, that's how crushing that is. When she says she doesn't want to do them anymore, because I feel like that's part of who she is, and she's having to she feels like she's going to have to say goodbye to that because she doesn't feel like the same person.
Well, when she said she was going to stop making her YouTube videos, I applauded because I don't think anybody that age with those insecurities, needs to be putting themselves out. I think this movie has a lot to say about social media and Instagram. Like, she's on her phone constantly.
Right.
And I don't think the movie is saying this is healthy. So I even thought when she said she was going to quit, it's crushing because she's been crushed. But I also thought this is a healthier choice for her down the line to not be making these. And to a certain extent, she's not. Like you said, this is who she wishes she was, but she's not really being her true self in these videos because she does like a makeup. This is my makeup for when for going out night, and I'm like, I don't think you've ever gone out,
right?
And anyway, yeah, it was really, really good. She was the best thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think you're right about the social media thing because this whole thing about true self and everything, it has a lot to say about, it's weird that we have these insecurities, like when the pool scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird that we have these insecurities when we observe this pool scene and everybody is just a bunch of goofballs.
Yeah, everybody's having all kinds of fun.
Yeah, there's the guy who's he's like flipping his eyelids, and you have like people doing stupid dances and everything. And meanwhile, she is still thinks that she's going to be singled out of this whole group and everything. And like when she's going through all that social media stuff and like hearting everything, and none of these people are really just like being themselves, or they're all trying to like be that one voice in the million that stand out somehow, some way. It reminds me of To Die For at the very end of To Die For, where the girl is talking about how the thing that the Nicole Kidman character, Suzanne something I think is her name, Suzanne Stone. She's talking about how like Suzanne's always talking about how like if you're not famous then you're not anybody and everything. And it's like, but then I was thinking if everybody was famous, then how do you stand out in that group and everything? And that's the way everybody is these days with this who really actively do social media.
It's like Syndrome. When everybody's super, no one will be.
Yeah. Yeah. It goes up against The Cabin in the Woods. This movie is always fantastic. I don't know if I've ever gotten to the point where, this was better this next time or this was a little worse. It's always been the same experience for me every time. But it's, this is such a great take on the old, trope of a cabin in the woods horror movie. And giving you an actual corporate type of reason, and it's more, I guess it's more like a legendary monster type of reason, but it feels like a corporate type of reason for all these horror tropes to even exist. And I love the fact that there's like so many things that it could have been. Yeah. Like they put out like something that's 500 different things that they could have awakened in this movie. But Cabin in the Woods really takes that, that very familiar genre and gives you a very satisfying reason for why this might be, why these certain things, these characters and the way these situations might be. Yep. And Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford are terrific.
Oh my God. Oh, they're so funny.
One of the best openings of all time. I think.
My God. I don't know what you mean right there.
The slice of life, him going to work in the office.
Oh, yeah.
And then having that little tete-a-tete with Bradley Whitford, and all of a sudden,
Cabin in the Woods. Yeah. Talking about like cabinets and shit. Talking about like putting in cabinets in their house. But yeah, there's this, the idea is that these ancient monsters need the blood of some very basic prototypes from horror movies that we've all known. They need the blood of them to be sated and not to attack the world and everything. That's the basic premise. But of course, we don't know that right off the bat. But I guess we do. Well, do we? Don't know if we do know that right off the bat.
I think it's explained in bits and pieces as you go along.
Yeah, we don't know why we're seeing Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford right off the bat. I don't think.
No, but they have that security guard in there who's our stand-in who asks questions and they explain it to him, and that's how we get a lot of our exposition.
Yeah. But we don't know. Like to get this certain group, they sort of scout and like use drugs and use all sorts of things to get these people all together and want to go out to a cabin in the woods. Like the characters, apparently by the end of it, we're finding out that none of these characters are actually the same kind of people that they were before all of this started.
Yeah.
Like Chris Hemsworth is apparently playing a guy who is like a smart, like on scholarship guy, but then he's just a dumb jock because of all the things that they've done to him in this. And the same thing with his girlfriend, who was a brunette, and they put this blonde dye in her hair that apparently makes her act stupid.
I think Drew Goddard has a very similar type of thing. First of all, he does really well with big casts, but I get a very similar feel from Bad Times at the El Royale to Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
And there's two very different movies.
Yeah.
But these ensemble pieces where everybody has something to do, and it keeps peeling off these layers of why things are happening. You know, you don't really get the full exposition until the Sigourney Weaver stuff at the end in Cabin in the Woods. But that exposition that you were talking about never is clunky to me.
No.
It's always like whip smart, and they're talking to each other as they would talk to each other.
Yeah.
This movie's fucking awesome.
Now, this has an all-timer. I would put this in the top 10 favorite movie moments of all time for me. When the two escape kids go down, now they're in the facility. They're in one of the cells that the goblins come out of. But it's that when they open all the cells and there's all those guys with guns and you just hear that and then fucking mayhem, and you have to have the entire movie up till then for that to ever pay off. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's where the idea sprang from, is that moment, all those monsters
Splash
coming out
page.
at once to kill all the guards.
and then another payoff with the merman.
Yeah.
Bradley
Whitford has always wanted to see a merman. He's like, he had the conch in his hand. He had the conch shell in his hand, man.
I also love the guy at the gas station who's like their Warner guy, and he refuses to be corporate, and he's like, the lambs are being led to the slaughter. And Brad Whitford's like, okay, man, thanks a lot.
That scene, the elevators and everything was now I saw this movie. I was still working in movie theaters when this came out. That was a moment that I marked as I'm going to go and watch this with a crowd.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Cabin in the Woods didn't do anything.
Didn't get a crowd.
So there weren't crowds. Like the opening night that I went in to watch this scene, there was maybe 10 to 20 people in that.
You gotta have a full house to get that good crowd reaction.
Yeah, and if that movie had ever done well, that would have been a moment that I think I would have been able to revisit over and over.
Did they? So this came out before Avengers, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So had it come out after with Hemsworth and Joss Whedon and all that stuff attached to it, it would have been a much bigger movie, don't you think?
It's possible. I don't know. I was thinking about this, and in fact, it may have only been a month earlier.
Oh, really?
I don't remember if it was. I don't think it was too long.
Cabin in the Woods was 2011.
Oh, 2011. So it was before Thor then. It wasn't before.
You're right. 13th of April. IMDb says 13th of April 2012 USA release.
Okay, so
yeah,
it came out 2 weeks before the Avengers did.
That's crazy.
Jesus.
And I don't know if they thought that it would be better. Maybe they thought Chris Hemsworth was more of a name after Thor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But you're right. It might have done better to come out in like an October or something. And it could be where they looked at the schedule and they just said, we can't find any better place for this, so we'll just come out with it in April. I don't know. It may even had some production issues where that was pushing it back, where they pushed it back to April or whatever.
Wow. Yeah.
Who knows? I'm not sure. That scene though, I actually frame by framed that elevator scene because there's so many different creatures that come out. The thing that always made me laugh the most was the big giant snake. Because you don't see it at first. You don't really see the snake at first. He slithers in. He's on the ground, but there's all this chaos going on. And then all of a sudden you just see the big like head of the snake come up in that classic snake pose. But I frame by framed it, and the thing that makes me laugh the most is that like it's like a witch riding lightning or something like that. It's like shooting lightning, and then there's like a robot with saws.
You know they had the most fun coming up with all those different creatures.
It's a robot.
Yeah. I guess if there was any knock against this movie, it's probably the last few minutes of it. I think.
Yeah.
And I'm not too big on the legendary part of it. I was hoping it would be more.
Well, not to mention that she yada yadas the whole fucking virgin thing.
Yeah, I mean, we do the best we can. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't find a virgin. Are you kidding me?
But don't we? Doesn't this movie end basically saying, "Yeah, the world's fucked. They're coming up to kill us all."
Yep.
Yeah, I love that.
It's got that big
it's great.
fist, right? That comes out
Yeah,
of the
big giant
thing.
hand comes out. Like the Sigourney Weaver is trying to tell her to kill dude because if she doesn't, he's going to die anyway.
Yeah.
But it comes down to a moral choice where she decides I'm not going to kill my friend. And so they both just kind of like just sit there and wait for the world to end and everything. And yeah,
What a perfect ending.
yeah,
It's
that
just amazing.
Sort of explains why there's no sequel.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. No, I this movie is great, and that's why I'm saying this is going to be a hard choice.
It is.
Cabin in the Woods versus Eighth Grade is one of the hardest ones that I can think of.
Yeah. 8th Grade is very rewatchable, surprisingly rewatchable. Because everything is like a little vignette. She's got the crush on the middle school kid. It's like, do you give blowjobs?
Yeah, yeah,
Who looks like male Zendaya?
yeah,
He does.
or like baby Ty Sheridan.
Yeah. Exactly. And then you got the whole high school transition. This is a girl that's firmly in transition. She's not a girl, not yet a woman.
Yeah, yeah.
A little Britney for you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you see both sides of that.
Not a girl.
And the one where she hugs her dad.
Oh, no.
It's so annoying when people who are parents are like, "Oh, you don't understand till you're a parent." I think that's all bullshit. But that one did hit me, I think, more because
you have
that's happened before, where you just like get an unexpected hug. I can't even talk.
I do love that scene though, like the whole under the desk scene. I've heard this as a thing in schools now, where they're actually training for gunmen coming in and everything. I didn't know that was like a thing until like last year, I think.
The school does a armed intruder drill and a tornado drill on the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna like, well, fuck it, we're gonna have drill day, and we're gonna do all the drills on one day.
I do like the guy who's coming in with it's such gallows humor. The guy with the AK-47, it's like, let's give a hand to the drama club.
Yeah.
Helping
He's
out
just
today.
going around going, dead. But she goes under that, they get under the desks and she starts talking to that dude, which they have that great little soundtrack that comes along with them every time
yeah.
she first sees it. But she's like, what do you think will happen? What do you think will happen if there is a gunman at the school or whatever? And he goes, I hope it happens. And she goes, oh, I do too. Yeah. And she's like, it's like, but why do you want it to happen? It's because I'd fuck that guy up. It's like, oh yeah, you totally fuck
him up.
Yeah.
I love when he does the do you give blowjobs? She immediately, oh yes, I'm very good at them.
Yeah.
And then she goes home and Googles blowjobs and is put off on the whole idea almost instantly.
And then when she goes and finds a banana and she's going to like practice on it or whatever, and then her dad walks in.
I thought you hated bananas.
He's like, no, I
like
love
them now.
Yeah.
just gonna eat it right now.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I hate bananas, okay?
He's so confused. Poor guy.
Yeah. Okay, let's vote.
You go first.
Oh, you cocksucker.
Yeah, have you gone first once today?
You're
going
I think
first.
I have.
You're
Okay,
going
I'll
first.
go first.
You're going first.
Cabin in the Woods.
Whoa.
I can watch that movie. That's another movie I could watch 50 times and not get sick of.
Do you want to vote or me?
You go ahead.
Cabin in the Woods. If only because watching 8th Grade was uncomfortable.
Sure.
As it's intended to be. And watching Cabin in the Woods is never uncomfortable.
No.
And it really is a tie. I just had to pick one.
Yeah.
They're both excellent.
Yeah.
Man, I think I was going 8th grade.
Yeah.
If this was a tiebreaker, there were just scenes in 8th grade that really just stood out to me. But I mean, Cabin in the Woods is so fun, so it's hard to go up against it. The scene where she is she has her shadow at the high school, and she texts her, and then they have a conversation, and she says, "Hey, we're gonna hang out at the mall. Do you want to come and hang out?" And she has this smile on her face that just will brighten up your day. And she forgets, she like loses her headphones and everything, but just sitting there, just like wants to marinate in this happiness that she's being accepted into this group and everything. And then forgets it and she says, "Oh, sorry, I have bad reception here." Blah, blah, blah. That's a tough one to let go this early. But Cabin in the Woods is a good choice, guys. It will now go up against Gravity.
Woo! That was a crazy region right there.
It was an extremely crazy region. We have one more. It'll be the West region, another first round, and then we'll be done with
in the West.
And then we'll be done with the first round after that. So it'll be interesting to see how these winners go up against each other in the second round after that. Anyway, what did you guys think? I know that every time we do one of these, some of your favorite movies are gone. Sorry. Sorry. It's the way. There can only be one winner.
There can be only one.
Yeah. Highlander. It's the best movie ever made. But what did you think about this? Go to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. We are also on Cinemasins Twitter, Music Video Sins Twitter. We're on SoundCloud. We also have a Discord. If you want to get on Discord, go to our Reddit page. There's a link on the right side of the page, or you can go to the Facebook page and private message me, and I'll give you a link there. But that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkinson, Jeremy Scott, and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
I'm not a girl.
I should have stayed in my car and never yelled at that bad man.
Although, if you hadn't, I bet the guy in front of you would have gotten up.
He would have lost his temper eventually. God, I'm such an idiot.
It wasn't an idiot. I mean, it was just the dramatics of the...
I know. If I'd have been less mad, I could have just... And instead I was like, I'm going to hit this as hard as I fucking can. And then there goes my foot. Sweep the leg, Johnny.
Well, you were also like... It was where the turn signal was painted on the pavement. Yeah. So I think that was a little extra slippery.
Yeah, the paint was a little slick. If I had it to do over, I'd do about 3 things different.
I like that place.
The only time I went to that place was during Wizard World, and I was drunk. And I told Dicer I wasn't a Christian anymore.
You weren't drunk before we got there. You got drunk there, right?
I was, yes, but I was drunk pretty much all day. Because I had wine at the... I discovered they were selling alcohol on the main expo floor.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I yelled at Kato Kalin that OJ did it. And then we went for a burger, and I got more wine. And I said, I don't believe in God anymore.
What a sequence of events.
I mean, Dicer handled it like a pro.
So yesterday I go to the get an ultrasound on my kidneys.
Yeah, your kidney.
To see if that's causing the high blood pressure and everything. And so I go to it's just like a specialized place where all they do is like vascular stuff. It's this nice young woman takes me back into the thing. I'm the only person there. And, they turn the lights out and all that stuff. It's cold as hell. Lay on my back. She does the goo and stuff. I've never gotten an ultrasound before. I saw my wife did. And they put the goo on you and all that stuff and pokes different areas and all that stuff. Gets at the kidney and all that. And the last thing was she was like, okay, now I have to do your bladder. And I was like, all right, I don't know where the bladder is on the body. And so she's like, unbutton your pants. So I was like, okay. So unbutton the pants. And the bladder is like, a couple of inches above your business.
Okay.
So she jams the thing in there. Like, not painful, but she jams the thing in there with the goo and all that stuff. And she goes around. She's like, do you have to pee? And I was like, no, I don't have to pee. She's like, okay, cool. We can do this. And so she's wrestling around in there for a while. And then afterwards, she's like, okay, I'm done. You can use this towel to wipe yourself off. And, like, there was this weird mental juxtaposition of, like, I'm in a dark room with stuff all over my,
nice.
my crotch.
gooey, clear, liquid.
Yeah.
I was like, what just happened? Then I doze off. Because as I'm cleaning myself up, I'm like, what the fuck is this, man?
I had an ultrasound on my leg, and it was this. I mean, that goo is not easy to clean off.
No, and it was fucking everywhere.
I thought your story was going to be they didn't give me enough towel because that's how I felt.
No, I didn't. No, they didn't have enough towel. It was like
Yeah.
a dish rag.
Yeah, it's not enough to clean that shit up.
You're exactly like Kevin Smith and his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't watch his movies, or
Yeah, he's that's the thing that he's said in his like, I don't know if you want to call it stand up or whatever, but he's always like, don't get me wrong, you know, my wife loves me and everything, but she isn't exactly a Kevin Smith fan.
I don't know how many iterations of Degrassi. It's just 2.
I don't know. There was
I
one
never
when
watched
I
it.
was. There's one that I think lines up with my generation.
The Drake one.
I guess, but it was like I think I was in high school or college when it was on.
Well, then maybe there was another one then, because the Drake one would have been maybe 7-8 years after that.
Maybe it never stopped. Maybe it's Doctor Who.
No idea. I there was a period of time back in like 2002 that I saw Degrassi show up on like Nickelodeon or something.
Yeah.
And I watched several episodes of it. It was just one of those oddly watchable shows, you know.
Not great, but just watchable.
Yeah, high school soap opera.
Yeah, it was the Saved by the Bell of dramedies. Right?
Yeah.
Whereas Saved by the Bell was full on stupid comedy. Degrassi was, well, it was trying to be more like My So-Called Life.
Yeah, it was Canadian
Yeah.
Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
Everything's more serious in Canada.
Yeah.
By the way, I was listening to Fresh Air, and there was this wonderfully engaging guest on there. And you could tell it was an actress, and she was just lovely. She was talking about growing up in New York and all this stuff and starting young. And she didn't say her name the entire time until finally, I looked it up, and it was Claire Danes.
Oh, nice.
Because it was timed for the Homeland thing.
I keep seeing headlines that say, Homeland, the show that got brilliant after you stopped watching.
Did you stop watching?
I stopped watching after like season 3 or 4.
I made it to 2.
I watched up to 5, I think, maybe. And
So apparently it's badass now.
But but the 4th and 5th seasons, I think, were not very good. And they killed off some characters that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought it was done because I kept hearing that this was like maybe this was the final season, but I think they've had like 3 or 4 seasons since I stopped watching.
Yeah, I don't get it. I guess I might need to check it out more.
I guess. It's your girl.
But she's apparently this upcoming season apparently puts her basically in the same situation that Damian Lewis was in the first one.
Really?
Yeah. Like people think that she's a terrorist.
That first season was some of the best television I think I've ever seen.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
That whole bunker scene was as tense as anything I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect depiction of bipolar disorder too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Wow, the way she realizes right before the shock therapy, like she realizes, oh God, it's him, and then they start the treatment. She can't do anything.
Oh man, is she 40?
Yeah. 1979.
That was a good
same
year
age as me.
and a good Smashing Pumpkins song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is a great Smashing Pumpkins song.
I was at the store yesterday, and my total was 1962, and I said, that was a good year, and you should have seen the look this woman gave me. Like, I just told the worst dad joke ever. And I did. But usually I'm charming enough when I say it that I get a smile, but this was like she had had enough today, and she was done with joking customers.
I think the most important part was the cadence. And I think, you know, I've got a feel of like reading.
Yeah,
Didn't
you
sound
got
like that. But
it's like the word reading. That new Pearl Jam song is driving me crazy.
I haven't heard it.
It's not good.
Dance of the Clairvoyants. It doesn't sound like, first of all, it doesn't sound anything like Pearl Jam.
Oh, yeah?
And it sounds like he's singing in backmask speak. Now, I know Eddie Vedder is never really understandable anyway, but it sounds like he's... But it's also, stylistically, it's nothing like I've ever heard. I don't like it.
Yeah,
Gotta check that. Was it Dance of the Clairvoyant?
Dance of the Clairvoyants.
It sounds like if Pearl Jam was like a new band and they were trying to figure out what sells in 2020.
Exactly.
Oh, really?
Exactly.
You guys liked the Americana Mama. What was the Taylor Swift thing?
Miss Americana?
Miss Americana. You like that?
I'm going to talk about it Friday when we talk Netflix originals.
Oh, okay.
I liked it, but it's not great. Ugh. You hated it?
Yeah.
You didn't even like the songwriting parts?
I got this weird thing about this.
You think that she faked it?
I think she faked it. I think she may have done that like a month before the documentary aired, and she's like recreating her process of coming up with me.
You fucking cynic.
I know.
My
God.
God.
It just like rang so false to me.
I
don't know what it
honestly
was.
did not have an opinion of it. I turned it on one day as background as I was doing other things because I don't really need to see the full documentary. I just wanted to have some sort of like music and whatever. And if something interesting came up, I would watch it.
She gets naked.
Yeah, she gets naked. Yeah, I don't know whether I liked it or not. I know that there were some things like that came up into my head.
Just tickled my spidey sense.
Yeah, and then like I was talking about this I think Friday with Jeremy, was just the there's so many parts where they're like, here's some road signs, like, see, she's driving around this part of Nashville and everything, and then it would cut to her in the backseat of the car and you could see the images in the back and like through her window, and you're like, yeah, they're not they're not on the interstate. You know, stuff like that. They're not where they say they are.
Oh, you cynic.
I know. I don't like it, but she's like, and I promise that you'd never find another like me.
You think they'd keep that under wraps?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like state secrets or anything like that. It's Taylor Swift.
I don't know. Everybody's trying to end people these days. Somebody on the crew would be like, she faked it. It would be on TMZ.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I don't think it would be that big of a deal.
If she faked songwriting footage?
Yeah, I like the process. She obviously wrote the song, so it doesn't really matter if it's real or fake. But I think it's just a little bit fake.
We have to hash this out later.